Hey everyone, just want to give you a quick heads up before you start the podcast. The first 4 minutes or so on Trey's end of the conversation, there's some issues with the audio. It's giving some weird feedback, so I tried to smooth it out as much as I could in editing, but just push through it because it's only the first 4 minutes or so and then it clears up. So, enjoy the podcast.
We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I'm Sherman Troy White of Podcast Media, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend, may the odds be ever in his favor, BanditIncorporated. Do-do-do-do.
What? Hello! After
Yes.
an extra week of hiatus for both of us, we are back.
Yes, we are back. Let's touch on that week hiatus, by the way, because even on my channel, which is back, by the way, but we'll get to that next.
Yeah,
even on my channel, the first comment on the video I posted was, "Great to have you back. What's a podcast?" And so, what's a podcast? On my Instagram, people are like, "What's a podcast?" So basically, what happened is that Sunday we were scheduled to record. We usually record Sunday between 7 and 9 p.m. My time, because that's roughly 8 to 10 in the morning on your time. Which is a prime time for both of us. But I had a Sweet 16 to go to. You're stirring your coffee. I had a Sweet 16 to go to on that evening, so I had to make plans for that. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do it Monday. But then Monday I had a good Dinosaur screening. And so, we were going to do it Tuesday, and we decided, you know what, why don't we, I'm like, why don't we just not do it this week? We can do a wrap-up episode next week. Which is what.
That's how devoted we are to this podcast.
Yeah,
we just go, let's just skip it.
Screw it. Well, continuity's sakes. We don't want to put out this on Tuesday. That just seems weird.
Yeah. So
being said,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you go ahead. I was going to explain what the podcast is going to be this week.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
So because of that, we're basically going to do a cleanup episode here. We're going to cover Mockingjay and Jessica Jones that we were going to do last week, as well as all the extra news, and we're going to clean up some of the extra questions. And you saw The Good Dinosaur, of course, so we're going to talk about that. So it's going to be a bit of a cleanup episode.
Yes.
But
okay.
I would like to point out to all our listeners, because a few people mentioned this, since we're now on YouTube as well as iTunes, I'm actually going to start including down in the description, both on iTunes and in YouTube, the time codes of each of the topics, because a couple of people have said, I think it's mostly on YouTube, because on iTunes, people just get on iTunes because they want to listen all the way through. But on YouTube, people want to skip to the bit they want to hear. So from now on, in the descriptions, you'll be able to see all the time codes there if you're impatient, just want to jump to a certain bit. And that'll help us with, I won't have to insert the audio of me saying a time code for spoilers, because all the time codes will be there automatically. So from now on, you guys can always check that out.
Okay. Yeah. Very convenient for you guys. That's all Bandit's doing. But something that kind of happened exponentially for me, good for me. I got my charger for my laptop back this past week, and so I was able to post a few videos out this week, including a top 10 moments of Star Wars, which took me quite a long time to do, especially when you use a very cheap program like I do. So, So my channel is back, and if you guys want to go subscribe to that on YouTube, Podcast Media, whatever. How was your week, Bandit?
Yeah, pretty good. Just very busy. I was happy to get that, have that extra day that I'd usually spend editing the podcast to keep doing the Star Wars thing. It's good. My voice actors, some of them are taking a bit longer to send me their lines than I would like. But hopefully I'll have all the lines and I'll be able to upload part one. I wanted it this weekend, but, I kind of decided, I was like, do I want to upload it without, incomplete without all the voices, or should I wait a bit and then have, So I'm just going to wait until I get all the voices. So.
Of course. Well, you want your best quality product out there.
That's
without giving anything away, I have seen part of it, and it's really great. I've read the script, but that's beyond the point. It's really great, guys. I think you guys are all going to enjoy it. Those of you that haven't seen it, which is most of you. But I think you've done some really great work there. I think this might be the best one from what I've seen. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Hope so.
There's a guy that did a certain impression. I won't give away here to kind of give things. It spoils things, but his impression was just about spot on. It was insane. Yes, let's get into the movie news.
Movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
Alright, so, Bandit, in the slow movie news, despite missing a week, not a lot of stuff dropped that I can recall, at least. The biggest thing here, I guess, we can touch on the Wonder Woman cast. They released the official cast for the Wonder Woman movie that's coming out in 2017.
Yeah.
I think it's expected to start shooting this spring. We got Robin Wright, who is Claire from House of Cards, and I think she's Jenny from Forrest Gump, right? You know, if I remember that correctly. I could be wrong. And then we also got Danny Houston, who is
Who was she playing? That
I have no idea. I just wrote the cast list down.
I think that's great.
I think she's suspected to play the role that Nicole Kidman was supposed to play, but declined.
Okay.
So
she's probably like the Amazon Queen or something like that.
Yeah. And then we got Danny Houston, who most people will probably know him as Stryker from X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yep, that guy.
Terrible movie, but not a terrible performance. He was also good in 30 Days of Night. So I think
he was King Richard in the Ridley Scott Robin Hood. He's a pretty good actor, that guy.
Yeah. And the one I'm most excited for here, David Thewlis, who you guys might know as Professor Lupin from the Harry Potter movie. And I thought, because I think he's great. I think he oozes just gravitas and Britishness. I think they want him to be Ares, which I'm totally excited and stoked for.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah.
And Chris Pine. You are going to mention him, right?
Yeah. And we got
How could
Chris,
you not mention Chris Pine?
Well, they already announced Chris Pine like a long time ago. Chris Pine as Steve Trevor.
That's true, yeah. But we haven't mentioned on the podcast yet.
Okay, and guess what? We're getting there. And Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. So, if we're going to mention a whole cast.
That's happening.
So, it's nice that they have talent surrounding. They're doing kind of the Harry Potter method, where they're surrounding an unknown star with really good talent to kind of help her do better in her role. So that's exciting to see.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
All right. Anything else? I just got a text. Anything you want to add?
No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm certainly hoping that they could do Wonder Woman justice, because it's her first big screen appearance. Apart from maybe, actually, I don't think the old 70s Wonder Woman. She was only on TV. She was never in a movie, was she?
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure she was only on TV. We saw Wonder Woman briefly in Lego Movie, and which is kind of cool. Voiced by Kobe Smulders, or as known as what's her face from the Avengers movies, Agent Hill from the Avengers movies. So also, we're going to see her in Dawn of Justice in March. So that's for me my big test to see whether or not I'm going to be excited for this movie, because I love Wonder Woman, and I like the director, but if they can't get, plus the rumors of how they had 4 different scripts and kind of just tacked them all together, put the best parts of each, And
they were making all the writers compete for like the best script.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the best way to actually make a story, but whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of it's different if you have one script and have different writers come on to it. But if you have 4 different scripts, like 4 different storylines, that just seems like it's going to be all over the place. But I have faith in the director. I have faith in the cast, with the exception of Gal Gadot, because I haven't seen her do anything exceptional. But that being said, I'm down for anything.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, next up, Fantastic 2 has officially been pulled off of Fox's slate. It's officially been canceled.
I guess it comes as a surprise to pretty much nobody. But
what a Greek tragedy. What a horrible thing has happened.
Well, let's just hope that Sony learns a lesson from this, because I think the general consensus of everyone online was it was not very good, but we could all see that it was the director. We could all see what the director wanted, and that would have been great, but it was ruined yet again. Another case of Sony ruining something with too much interference. Hopefully they finally learn their lesson, and they just leave the creative elements up to the creative people, and they just handle the business.
Bandit. I don't see why Sony would need to learn a lesson if this is a Fox movie. That being said, I mean, you're throwing out unnecessary shade towards Sony. I I just stand up for Sony and be like, Sony has not done. It's okay, Sony. You're good. You're good for now. Okay, you did the right thing back in January. You gave him back to Marvel. It's okay.
Did I mention we're in the middle of a heat wave here and it's really hot in this room because I can't turn the fan on because it will come off on the recording.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right.
I thought I'd stop you there before you went on the Sony rants.
Ignore what I just said.
Yeah, you might as well cut the whole. No. Okay, yeah, and like you said, I think it might be my only positive of Fan Force because I could see the tone that Josh Trank was going for. That being said, it's probably still the worst film I've seen all year. It's absolute crap. Along with another movie that we're going to be talking about later. But okay, so that's pretty much all I have to say on that.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, the big thing that dropped this past week, Civil War trailer.
Yes, that's the other thing I was going to make a note of before for us to talk about. So I'm glad you brought it up. Yes.
Yeah. That's just kind of the main event of news here. The Captain America Civil War trailer dropped last Monday or Tuesday. I don't know.
What do you think of it?
As a trailer, it felt like I don't want to. I'm gonna catch some shade for this. It felt like every other Marvel trailer, with the exception of like Ant-Man or Guardians of the Galaxy.
Exactly what I thought. I watched it.
I mean that in the best way. I mean that in the best way, though. Like, it's a great trailer, but every Marvel trailer since like Iron Man 2 has felt drama, action, suspense.
Yeah.
No Marvel trailer, with the exception of Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, has been able to capture the tone of what the movie's going to be. So I'm kind of stopped listening to trailers. You can I'll give you Winter Soldier, which kind of gives me kind of more hope. The Winter Soldier trailer was pretty much accurate of what the movie was going to be, but the Age of Ultron trailer was dark and it was serious, and it's like, this is going to be the Empire Strikes Back of the Avengers movies, and it wasn't. But I just
yeah, it's like my reaction to it was kind of like,
oh no, I love the trailer. I love the trailer. It just felt like I've seen the whole thing before.
That was pretty much it. I was just like,
I have to
that's
apologize
a thing.
I have to apologize for Bandit's flatulence, guys. He had a big can of beans earlier, and he just can't help himself sometimes.
But I was
That's
like,
okay.
look, just to give some perspective, I was like, I could just do a reaction video of that trailer, and reaction videos are the simplest, easiest, laziest kind of video you could possibly do.
I recorded a reaction video that I just never posted.
You got one step further than I did. Even though it was the laziest form, I'm like, I can't be bothered. There's not much there.
I set up my iPhone 6, and I'm like, let me watch this trailer. I was excited. It's a good reaction video, I guess, but I just never recorded because I don't have the program to use it properly.
Well, I'm a little bit angry with. I know it's only a trailer, but I'm a little bit angry because it doesn't seem like they're utilizing the story material properly. And the story material is fantastic. I mean, there's a little bit of hinting as to like a sort of superhero registration act kind of thing, where there's that one line where the general guy is like, hey, you got to follow these rules, and Tony Stark is like, if we don't accept rules, we're nothing worse, we're only as bad as the bad guys. But it mostly seemed to be about Bucky, and I'm like, no, it's not really good. So either that, either they just didn't include it in the teaser, or the movie's not really using the storyline of Civil War, which is a damn shame. Damn shame.
You good? Okay. I understand them not utilizing the storyline. Just because so much happens in that storyline. You have the whole reality show explosion that kills the. I feel like they won't blow up an elementary school in this, because it's too close to home.
Oh no, they wouldn't do that in Marvel, because Marvel's a consequence-free
they do it to Jessica
environment.
Jones. But I think what they're missing, I think what you're feeling here is the lack of what that story was trying to tell. Right? This just feels like another movie of Avengers fighting each other.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like
every movie has had Stark and Captain America like punching each other, or someone choking Tony Stark. So the bit at the end that a lot of people were like going woo over is when the two of them are fighting Iron Man. I'm like, we see that in every movie.
I was freaking out because it looked awesome, because it's a single shot of just them, just like he's throwing the shield at Bucky, and Bucky. I think it looks great.
Yeah,
I will give them the line though when he's like, "I'm sorry, Tony, but he's my friend." I'm like, He's like, so was I. I'm like, that's Civil War. That is Civil War. That shows the divide of these people. That shows that no one here is the bad guy. Then that's what I like. I want Tony Stark to be the villain, but I want him to be a sympathetic villain. Yeah. Because this is a Captain America movie, but I still want them to understand why Tony Stark has to be the bad guy. Right now, from the trailer, it seems like they more or less send Tony Stark to take down Cap. Tony Stark kind of feels like Superman from Dark Knight Returns right now, at least from the trailer. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, like I'd like to see a little bit of character progression with Stark as well. That maybe the reason why he's, he's gone from this guy who rebels against the rules and takes no responsibility, and now in Civil War he's like, okay, it's time to start being more responsible and let's do this registration thing. Like, that'd be a bit of character progression for Tony Stark. But having said that, it is a Captain America movie, not a Tony Stark movie. So it's probably going to be mostly about him and Bucky.
Which I'm okay with. But I just don't want it to feel like this is a team being separated. And I don't think, just from the trailer, that's not what I'm getting at here. It very much feels like Captain America's going on the run again, which we saw in Winter Soldier. I don't know why. The trailer gets me excited to go see the movie because it looks great. It looks like, I have faith in the Russo brothers. But my biggest concern
is that, even though you hated Winter Soldier,
I don't hate Winter Soldier. Even though you like Terminator Genesis. Oops, sorry. Put that.
Yeah, and you hate Winter Soldier. So there you go.
I don't hate Winter Soldier. I do hate Return of the Jedi. I watched all three of my friends. Me and my friends sat down today in my friend's theater room, and we watched the original Star Wars trilogy this today. And Jedi is such a downgrade in movie quality. Like, it's a shame, really, how bad Jedi is. But but movie, anyways. But like, I don't hate Winter Soldier.
Actually, remind me of that, because there is a bit of news we can talk about after this.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, you just triggered a memory. So I think it's like going off the Civil War trailer. I think you said like a week ago, it doesn't feel like Civil War. It feels more like civil argument.
Yeah, like civil scuffle, really. Civil scuffle,
civil disagreement.
Yes. It's
like in that How It Should Have Ended video for Age of Ultron. The Batman character is like, more like the minor setback of Ultron.
Exactly.
More like the 2 days of Ultron, not the age of Ultron.
More like the weekend of Ultron, really. Weekend at Ultrons. So I want someone to make that poster now. Weekend at Ultrons. It's Cap and Tony holding up like Ultron with the glasses on.
Yeah.
I don't see it. Look, like I said, I'm sure it's going to be great. I have faith in Marvel at this point. They have yet to disappoint me.
It sounds like we're saying it's the worst trailer ever. It's not. It's just okay.
Yeah.
And for the Civil War subtitle in the title, I would have expected a bit more. But who cares? It's only a first trailer.
I will still definitely give them that line. He's just like, so was I. I felt very like, I felt like Tony Stark just lost a friend in that line. You can see the turmoil going on.
When I saw it, I was kind of like, were they really friends? Because
I thought so.
I never really thought they were friends. They were teammates, but they never liked each other. They've never liked each other.
I thought they. Well, I thought
it was a bit of a stretch to even say they used to be friends. They've always been punching each other in the face and arguing.
Well, I think in the first Avengers, I think towards the end of the first Avengers, they became friends. That's just me.
But in Age of Ultron too.
Oh yeah, I think definitely.
I think they put aside their differences for the sake of the team, but they're not friends. I never thought they were anything even close to friends, really.
Okay. Well,
anyway,
you're the first person I've heard to go on that scene. Everyone I have talked to has been like even the people that didn't like the trailer, like, that scene was great. I don't know. I thought that last.
I was a bit confused by it. I was like, really? Were you? I don't know. It's like maybe they're acquaintances, but I wouldn't really say friends. But anyway.
Captain America, civil acquaintances. Wow. Okay.
I can't. Bucky, he's my acquaintance. So was I.
So was I. I mean, you're right.
He's my casual workmate. So was I.
I'm sorry.
It just
Bucky,
gets you right there.
I'm sorry, but I've talked to Bucky before. So have I. I've had a conversation with Bucky. So did we.
So the other bit of news I was going to say is what you when you mentioned Return of the Jedi, apparently the slave Leia toys of her in the metal bikini is being erased from canon. Completely erased. Not from the movie, of course, but all the figurines, all the toys, all of that, all of the phrases of calling her slave Leia, it's all been erased because they're like...
Why? She is Slave Leia. First of all, the name is Slave Leia.
Yeah. But, I mean, Disney's bought it. So Disney is going to go, the kids are going to go, why is there a giant slug that has Princess Leia attached to a leash in bondage
gear?
Movie. And why is she called Slave Leia? So Disney is going to just go, erase. But having said that, no, I don't like that.
Are you saying so now they're gonna cut out the scene when they're talking about droids and like no one ever cares about what a droid thinks, and so are they gonna cut that out too because that's talking about slavery?
That's robophobic.
I don't understand where the line's being drawn.
That's what it is.
Are they gonna cut out the scene where Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are burned to a crisp because that's brutal? That's in the movie, so that's violent. I don't. Are they gonna cut? Are they finally gonna cut the weird incest thing because that's in the movies? Like
that's much worse than the metal bikini.
Yeah, like they kept incest, but they decided to.
Yeah.
Okay. This seems really stupid. I can understand the whole.
I agree with you. I do.
I wanna step on this whole Disney thing right away because Disney. People seem to think that Disney, just because they do animated movies, means that they don't do non-6-year-old things. Like whenever someone says, "Oh man, Disney has the Avengers, it's gonna suck. Disney's got Star Wars, man. I don't know, man. It's because it's Disney. Disney does this." I'm like, well, Disney is a company. Disney does things. You realize Pulp Fiction's a Disney movie because Disney bought Miramax.
Really?
Back in the 90s, and Pulp Fiction was a part of Miramax 94. So Pulp Fiction's a Disney movie. You realize that?
Wow.
The Scary Movie franchise, those first two, I believe, are Disney movies. Like the whole Disney, like people seem to forget, Winter Soldier is a Disney movie. Like people need to understand Disney, this. Really? All the Marvel movies are like I can see Avengers being a Disney movie, but Winter Soldier, this dark political thriller, is a Disney movie. Pirates of the Caribbean is a Disney movie.
Yeah. Look, I can understand like Disney's thinking. I certainly don't agree with it, but I understand their thinking of that. And it's the whole weird sexual thing with Leia in this bikini attached in bondage gear to a slug. That's weird, but kids don't see that. No, kids don't care. Like we don't. Like when I went back to watch Return of the Jedi, I was like, actually, that is really strange because she's there in this bikini attached, and it's never like addressed in the movie. No one ever mentions like, why are you dressed like that?
Well,
but as a kid, you don't even notice that.
He dressed her up like like one of the Twilight dancers. He likes his woman. He likes his women scantily clad. That's what because Jabba's.
He's a gangster. That's what gangsters do.
Star Wars isn't saying that outfit is right. They're acknowledging that it's wrong. That's why when Leia chokes him out, it's a good empowering moment because, they're saying oppression, all that stuff. Like I don't understand why.
But it's but I mean, it's sort of like adult revisionist history. If we need to go back and we need to remove any figurines of Leia in this slave bikini because it's corrupting for kids. But kids don't understand it. Like if you go back and read any of the classic fairy tales as an adult, they're really intense.
Cinderella when they cut off the toes or whatever.
Yeah, it's about cannibalism, rape. It's really intense, but as a kid you don't really get it. So I don't think there's any need to go back and remove slave Leia.
Also, you are hindering all 11-year-old boys a wonderful introduction to puberty by removing the slave Leia thing. Because from what I've heard from YouTubers, slave Leia was a thing that helped them get their puberty. I'm not going to speak on their behalf, but I'm just saying.
And any kids too young for that, they're not going to buy the slave Leia figurine anyway. They're going to buy the Luke Skywalker or the Han Solo figurine. I guarantee you the people buying the slave Leia giant, figurines are not little kids, okay?
No, they're 40-year-old
So don't worry about it. Little kids would not be its slightest bit interested in
men that have Jennifer Lawrence on their computer. That's who.
That's exactly right.
Okay, but and also this smells like George Lucas. This smells like Lucas was like, we gotta take Leia off of it because Jar Jar's the key to all of this, and it's not not the right.
You're right. It does kind of feel Lucasy, like when he went back and made Greedo shoot first because he's like, it's too brutal to have Han Solo shoot first. Let's not pay any attention to the fact that we have someone getting his arm cut off brutally a few seconds before that. No, let's just focus on the Han Solo bit. So yeah, it's very Lucasy.
Also, this might be Disney and Hasbro kind of like pushing away from the whole Black Widow toy thingy. You know, kind of how. Do you remember how they don't Black Widow toys? This might be them trying to be like, well, we're taking away the Leia toys because but like people still haven't forgotten.
Kevin Smith on his podcast, he said calling that version of Leia the slave Leia, he said it wasn't really accurate because really she was undercover. It should have been undercover Leia.
Well, no, she was
which
a
also
slave
sounds
kind of
dirty, but it's more accurate. She was being a spy, sort of thing. She was trying to infiltrate.
Well, no, because in Return of the Jedi, when she's in that outfit, she is a slave. She's a slave.
Oh yeah,
to Jabba.
that's true because she gets caught, doesn't she?
Yeah,
because she tries to sneak in as a bounty hunter, but she gets caught. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So she is slave Leia.
So it is definitely a slave Leia. I can understand the whole. I understand them not wanting kids to see that because this might be a thing from the parents too of the parents going, we don't want nudity in our Star Wars. I'm like, well, it's the scene that's in the movie. So unless you don't show your kids Return of the Jedi. I mean, I don't know. That's the one kids are probably gonna like the most, anyways.
But I have heard stories though about like parents, like because there some parents who know nothing about Star Wars and they see that it says slave Leia and it's a girl in a bikini on a leash and they're like, that's a kid's toy. So I can understand their confusion if you haven't seen the movie.
Sometimes ignorance isn't bliss. Like okay.
Anyway, enough of that.
It's ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah. Is there any more news or?
No, that's all we got for news here. Which means, Bandit, it's time to get into some homework.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment. You're gonna go out, you're gonna start a fight with a total stranger. You're gonna start a fight, and you're gonna lose.
Alright, so, Bandit, today on our homework assignment, we are going to be touching on Marvel's / Netflix's Jessica Jones. Now, Bandit, I'll let you start because I've seen the whole thing, but you've only seen, 5, 6 episodes?
Yeah, I've seen the first... so far I've gotten up to the 5th episode, so I haven't seen the whole thing. I haven't seen many reviews of it either, so I don't really know what other people's consensus is. So I don't know whether this is controversial, me saying this, but I'm actually finding it extraordinarily boring, this TV show. And after the pilot, because I was making notes as I was watching it, and I wrote the word boring 3 or 4 times.
Boring.
And
boring.
And I think it picks up whenever the mind control guy Killian shows up. Is that his name? Kilgrave. That's it. I keep calling him Maxwell Lord in my head. That's the DC version. Yes. So it sort of picks up whenever he's there. I find that interesting, that character. I feel like we haven't really seen a character like that or that much before. So I kind of want to see more of him throughout the episodes, but it keeps going back to Jessica Jones just walking over here and looking through this window, then looking through that window. And the fight scenes are not very good.
No, they're not.
It's just really boring. And part of it was, I'm trying not to give spoilers, but I don't know. Well, I guess it doesn't matter, does it?
Bandit, it's been out on the Netflix area
long enough now
for a week and a half almost.
And there's timestamps below for anyone who wants to jump ahead if you want to avoid spoilers.
So I won't give spoilers past episode 5.
Oh, just go ahead. I don't really care. But
great, awesome. I would be very nervous.
But I think part of it for me was I had a little bit maybe part of the reason I didn't enjoy at least the first episode so much was I had a bit of a misconception, I think based off that teaser trailer thingy. Yeah. From that, I thought, I knew it was going to be darker because I knew a bit about Kilgrave and the whole sort of backstory between him and Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
So I knew it was going to be darker, but based off that little teaser where she's sort of asleep and there's alcohol bottles everywhere and she smashes the alarm clock, I thought it was going to be a little bit more like Hancock.
That's what I got a Hancock vibe from that. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
So I was like, it's going to be dark, but we're still going to kind of have fun with this. But, her alcoholism, they might as well just remove it from. They might as well just remove it from the story, and I know that would upset.
It's not a problem.
It's got nothing to do with her. It's
exactly.
At no point is she ever hungover. At no point does it ever interfere with her doing her job. At no point is her best friend like, "Listen, this is ruining your life. You got to cut back." You know, what's the point of even having it? It's like
I don't know because they couldn't have her smoke. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like,
which is weird. Like I don't see why. Like, I don't see why people can't smoke anymore in movies and TV. Like, they got rid of Constantine smoking, which I don't understand that. They're not trying to say smoking's cool.
I think it's just one of those issues that has a lot of emotional energy around it, so they just try to avoid it. It's like a minefield that you don't want to navigate it. Unless you're a bad guy, then you can smoke.
Yeah, unless like a mob boss or like a guy like on the street, you know, he got the cigarette.
Yeah,
hey,
or a Russian or something.
Yeah,
like they're allowed to
if
smoke
you're Russian,
for some reason.
you're allowed to smoke. That's the rule. You can't kill a dog on TV. You can't say the 7 or in movies. You can't say the 7 bad words on TV, and you can only smoke if you're Russian. Have you seen that video?
In that movie, Thank You for Smoking, the movie director he goes, "We got to get cigarettes out of the usual ravs," and he goes, "Ravs?" He goes, "Russians, Arabs, and villains." The only ones who are allowed to smoke on movies.
That movie is incredibly sick and twisted.
Yeah, but
it's not a good watch. It's really not.
Really, you don't like it?
Well, it's great, but it's not a good watch. Like I don't feel.
Well, it's a parody. It's a satire, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a very messed up one. Okay, back to Jessica Jones. So I finished it. I binged it all in one weekend over there, pretty much. And when I first saw the pilot, my first thought was, all right, I'm into this. I liked the tone it established. I thought Kristen Ritter was great in the main role. I thought everyone was doing really well. I thought the detectiveness of it was good. And then as the show went on, I thought it just, like you said, it got more and more boring as it went along. Everything with Kilgrave is incredible. In my opinion, he's one of the best villains in the MCU. For me, at least. Just from seeing the whole show, I think that he's what they've done with this character, and which is a shame because, spoilers, they kill him off at the end of the season, which is a shame. Which is so... I was so mad.
He's the best part of the show.
Exactly. Could you imagine, like, you put because Kilgrave can fit into you can put him in Daredevil, you know. You can put him in Spider-Man. Like this is a show, like this is a villain that can really work with different characters. And the fact that they killed him off really upset me, but is there
any room for them maybe to do some mind transfer thing that he transferred his mind into someone else or that?
Well, he gets his neck stabbed. So
okay.
So no, he doesn't like drown or anything. He doesn't get shot. No, like he doesn't bleed out.
Is there any hinting earlier? Maybe there's someone in a coma that he could send his brain into or something like that, or?
I doubt it, and even then it wouldn't be David Tennant. So I want it to be David Tennant because he's the reason that I think the character works so well.
Yeah.
Because he has that charming Britishness about him, but you're still like, nah, you know. I think for me, it's Loki, Fisk, and / Winter Soldier. I can't really figure out which one I want like better, and then Kilgrave, because what those 4 characters are all doing, they are all villains with deeper meaning behind why they are a villain. They are still evil and vicious and want to make the hero's life miserable, but you understand why, and so it's more compelling when there's like a sliver of, oh, they might turn good, you know, like Wilson Fisk. You know, he's you've seen Daredevil, yeah. Like Wilson Fisk, he's great and he's violent and he's terrible. He's a horrible person, and I can't wait to see when they bring him into Spider-Man. But at the same time, he's a little teddy bear. But then there's go ahead.
Let me ask you, because like you mentioned Wilson Fisk, like part of the reason why he's so good is he does believe he's kind of the hero, and I know the actor who plays Kilgrave in this, he said a similar thing about his character. Is that expanded on later on in the season as to
he feels
what his agenda is, why he thinks he's the good guy?
Well, his power is basically derived, again, spoilers, guys. His power is basically derived from experiments done on him by his family. His parents discovered this ability and they wanted to test it. And so that kind of they had no malice intent. It was really just more about trying to figure out a way to cure what he had. And it kind of turned him. it messed with his brain, and it made him seem like he now believes that he's a victim of life. And he now looks at this as this wonderful burden that he has with his power. But for the most part, he is just evil. He's just,
Sorry, go on.
No, it's just like I was going back to the other thing. He's evil, but there's tragedy behind his evilness, so, yeah.
And I think part of the reason why he works so much as a villain is because of his power. The idea of someone who's able to do that to you is genuinely terrifying.
Absolutely.
It's the thought that somebody could do that to you, get inside your head, and that part of your mind is still trying to fight against it and still aware of what's happening. Yes. But you're helpless. That's a genuinely terrifying villain.
Yes.
And it's a shame they killed him off.
Yeah, but I will give you, and the reason I think your hero can only be as good as their villain. And so like Dark Knight works as well as Dark Knight works because of the balance between Christian Bale and Heath Ledger. Thor works as well because you have Chris Hemsworth and Loki. Winter Soldier, Captain America and Bucky. This movie, or this show, I guess, works so well because you have the coldness and brittleness and just this anger of Jessica Jones, and yet you have this charismatic, this smooth, yet still kind of creepy vibe of Kilgrave. And so there are these block of episodes, kind of towards the end of episode 6, towards episode 9 or 10, that, in my opinion, are the best episodes of the show. It's because it starts out and you have Jessica Jones. She wants to turn herself into the police, and you see this in the trailer. And it ends with Kilgrave coming in and freezing the entire police station. He pulls the X-Men 2 and makes everyone stand still, except everyone has their gun pointed at someone else or at themselves. And he confesses his love for Jessica, and you're just like, wow, this guy is really messed up. And so, and then episode 7 or 8 is where Kilgrave has made a complete replica of Jessica's house from when she grew up, because he wants to get to her. She was the one that got away, literally. And so it's basically her trying to figure out if there is a way to make Kilgrave use his powers for good. And so there's this part of the episode where Kilgrave goes out and saves people using his powers, and it's so great because he's only doing this for his own personal gain, but you can see that he can use his powers for good. And then they trap him. They trap Kilgrave in this kind of like in The Flash, how the way they trap metahumans. They trap him in this area in which, because his powers only work at that point through, you have to hear it directly. It can't be through a recording. And so they trap him in this room where they keep him in an intercom. And the whole episode is them trying to figure out, how can we get Kilgrave to show his powers? And they end up getting his parents to show up, and it's such this emotional scene. I can send you the link to the scene. And then when he escapes the prison, and it's just one thing after another of him. You can see how powerful he is. He makes his mom stab herself. He says, for every year you left me in that lab, stab yourself. She's just shaking herself in the heart. And then, Jessica tries to get in there, and her friend Trish grabs a gun and tries to shoot at Kilgrave, and so she makes Kilgrave escape, until Kilgrave's like, "Cut out your heart, father." And then Trish has the gun pointed at him, and then Kilgrave is like, "Put a bullet in your skull, Patsy." And then she tries knocking her, she tries killing herself, but she's out of bullets, and it's one thing after another, and that for me was the peak of the season. That to me was where the show, from that point on, it just started getting more and more boring, and I felt like there were no stakes. I stopped caring about all the characters.
Okay.
So
his motivations is that he's just kind of in love with Jessica Jones for some reason.
Well, I think it's because he's kind of obsessed, because he basically kind of all his life he got what he wanted because he had this power. Yeah. And no one was ever able to break his grasp, at least in the 12-hour period that he had them in. Jessica did. Because, spoilers, I don't know if you know this already, but she killed Luke Cage's wife. And that's kind of what snapped her out of Kilgrave's control. She got enough power. She's like, you know what? And then out of nowhere, she can't control him anymore. Or he can't control her anymore. There's a scene where he's trying to escape, and Jessica grabs her, and he's like, "Let go of me, Jessica," and then nothing happens. And she's just like, "Oh, I'm not in his control anymore." And which means and then like episodes 11 to 13 are him trying to become powerful enough to control Jessica again. But that's stupid. None of that works. They try bringing in Nuke, the character Nuke from the comics, and none of that works either. It
sounds like it gets kind of interesting later on. But tell you what, it takes its time to get to the interesting stuff. It really does.
Well, it takes its time because in the interesting episodes, besides those episodes, maybe 8 to 10, in episodes like 11 to 13, it's just them wandering around and those minor things of what happened. And so it's not, you do. Yeah, it doesn't know what it wants to be.
It's not very good, is it? It's like
no,
and it's like
I give it a 6 out of 10. It doesn't know what it wants to be. Though is my main problem. Like my friend Christian,
6 out of 10 is pretty good.
Well, because those episodes are great, and I think David Tennant's great, and I think everyone's good in what they're doing. I think I really like the way it's shot, with the exception of the action scenes. But my main problem is sorry, go ahead. I'm going on too long.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, about the actress who plays Jessica Jones is like, I don't know what she's trying to go for with the character. Like, I know the idea of the character is like, I'm assuming the reason she drinks is because of everything she went through, although so far they haven't really said anything about it. It's just kind of there. Yeah. And like, it's like, I assume that her character is that, like, on the surface, she doesn't seem really to be bothered all that much by what's happened with Kilgrave.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got this desire of, I want to go get him, but it doesn't really seem to bother her all that much. And I'm like, look, I know you're supposed to be playing a character who is like that, who has that front.
Yeah.
But you can do something more than just the exact same expression and reaction to everything all the time.
Okay.
I just really don't like her acting at all. Maybe she gets better later on, but based off what I've seen,
no,
she's just kind of a blank slate that just walks around and occasionally throws someone into a wall.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know why they picked her at all.
I thought she was great.
I think
about the character.
They should have got the chick who's blonde. They should have made her Jessica Jones. She could have done a lot more with it.
Oh yeah, she
dye her hair black.
However, her accent is just atrocious. Like you can hear her slip in and out of her Australian accent because she's Australian. You can hear her slip in and out of that accent constantly, and it's annoying every time. Every time, because I'll be listening and she'll be like, I don't know why would someone do that? I'm like, I heard that. Because it takes me out of the show right away because I listen to an Australian accent every week, and so now I know what it sounds like. I'm like, I can't do that.
That's weird because I didn't pick it up at all.
Yeah, I don't know. No one has. Did you pick up the Spider-Man reference? I'm not sure if it was in the first 5 episodes.
No, I picked. Reference. They mentioned like the big green guy a couple of times that aliens attacked the city. They mentioned that. I didn't pick up the Spider-Man reference. So
I think she's walking past. I think it's some radios. It's a part of the show where you hear a bunch of people talking on the radio, and it's quick. It's flashing between stations. I think one of the guy goes, and now we got a kid in the city swing, and then it cuts. And I think he was saying swinging, and I heard that I was like, "Hey, Spider-Man reference!" Because I think the show implies that there have been, metahumans going around for a while at this point now. So Spider-Man's been around in the universe.
Sure.
But going to that, I think the Jessica Jones character gets more interesting as it goes on because, in that episode when she's in her home, done by Kilgrave. She can't leave because she tries to leave, and Kilgrave says, "If you leave, I'll get these 2 people he keeps in his house as like his slaves to cook and clean for him." He's like, "I'll get these 2 people to slit each other's throats," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah." And so she's stuck in the house, and Kilgrave is trying to convince her that there was a moment in time in which he wasn't in control of her, and she actually loved him, and it's later revealed through flashbacks that she was out of his control for like 15 seconds. And she used that 15 seconds to step onto a ledge and almost jump off the building. But she didn't because Kilgrave saw her. And it's just it's little nuances like that where I think the show excels. But the show doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know. Like, does it want to be a superhero show? Does it want to be a crime drama? Does it want to be a noir? It doesn't know what it wants to be. And that it confuses itself. And the action is just atrocious. I wasn't a fan of the action scenes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, like, it probably is trying to be like a detective show more with the private eye, but if that's the case, they really need to work on making it a little bit more interesting, other than just she goes to this place, looks through the window, then she goes to that place and looks through a window, then she goes to the... Like, try a little bit harder.
Like,
it's not interesting.
Make this, like, have some intrigue if you're going to have a show. Like, make the mystery worth it.
Yeah.
If it's going to be a mystery show, make the show worth it. You
and
know,
they keep focusing on stuff that I don't care about. Like in the first couple episodes where the cop tries to kill her best friend and then he comes back and apologizes and all that. And then they start focusing on that and I'm like, I don't care. And then they reveal,
that doesn't go away. That doesn't go away, by the way.
Oh, great. And then shows, the person that's been taking pictures has been the guy that's high all the time. And I'm like, I don't care. You know, stop bringing in all this stuff I don't care about, you know. And I was wondering because I was like, why do they even have Luke Cage there? Like, he's probably the second best thing after Kilgrave. But I was like, what's the point of that? But now that I know that it was his wife that she punched out, I guess that makes more sense. So,
like, and going to the action, they have a fight where Kilgrave controls Luke Cage, and so he gets him to fight Jessica Jones, and it really did feel weightless. You know, despite, you know, people are being thrown through walls, you know, people are being punched through things, and it's this big kind of epic thing that it's still trying to go for. And I just didn't care. I didn't care at all about what was going on, and that was my big concern. With a lot of the action, I didn't feel like with Daredevil, the action felt like every punch hurt. I felt like every time there was a fight, like something bad was going to happen to one of these guys, and sometimes that was Matt Murdock. But with Jessica Jones, I'm just like, okay, so she's gonna flip a table. All right, great. Yeah.
And there's room to add more tension to it because she's strong, but she's not indestructible like Luke Cage is.
Exactly.
Like, she gets shot in the shoulder at one point, and it affects her like it would anyone else. So there's room to add tension to the fight. But I don't know, whatever.
So I overall, like, when the show ended, me and my friend Christian looked at each other and we went, no, and I was like, no, and he was like, no. I'm like, nah, I thought not. And it ends anticlimactically too. Like, she kills Kilgrave, and then just cuts back to her in her office, and now Malcolm, her neighbor, is just kind of her assistant. And I'm like, okay, great. So nothing. It just I wasn't a fan of the show. The more I talk about it, the more I'm not a fan. Yeah, I've been sitting on this for about a week. I haven't talked. I finished it last Sunday.
Yeah. So you give it a 6 out of 10, just based off the 5 episodes I've seen. I give it probably like a 4 or a 5 out of 10. Oh yeah. And those points are scored only by Kilgrave. Yeah. Just that concept is the only.
But he is. I will send you the clip afterwards of when he escapes the facility he's in, because it's really. Yeah, it's really well done.
I'll watch that because then I don't need to watch the rest of the season. And like, if we weren't going to talk about it, I probably wouldn't have bothered to watch past the first episode. Yeah, you know, it just wasn't very.
Well,
good.
that's why I binged it last week, because I'm like, I'm not enjoying this, but I know we're talking about it on the podcast. Yeah. I thought we were going to be recording it that night, but then I got invited to a 6/16, and I'm like, well, now I got to go to the Sweet 16. So,
I enjoyed Flash. Like, I binged all of Flash, and I enjoyed that a lot more than I did this. So.
See, I think the problems with Flash are more like, I think the problems with Flash take me out of the show more than the problems with Jessica Jones do. Jessica Jones is just boring, but you can get past boring stuff. When with Flash, the stuff that's terrible to me is more cringeworthy than anything. It's more annoying and infuriating.
That's right. That's where I'm just the problem with Flash is they're throwing all this stuff at the wall. Some of it sticks, some of it doesn't. The problem with Jessica Jones is it's just boring. So, but I think if I have to choose between the two, I'd rather take the show that throws more stuff at you, but you know, at least there's stuff happening more, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but that's, Jessica Jones, they need to lift their game a bit.
Yeah. So whenever I don't see why people are like, I loved it. And you know what I hate? They talk about this on Weekly Planet, about how everyone's loving the superhero show because it's like a superhero show. And whenever someone says that always gets to me, because I'm like, you tuned in to watch a superhero show, and you like it because it's not a superhero show. Like, that to me doesn't make any like someone like there was a review I read on Facebook, and it's like, I love the show because it didn't feel like anything from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, it feels different from everything I've usually watched. And I said, so the best thing about a superhero show is the fact that it doesn't feel like a superhero show. And they were like, yeah. I'm like, that makes no sense, because then don't make it a superhero show. Like, don't. Oh my God. Like, just like I don't. That always that that was my main problem with Winter Soldier for a while, is that it didn't feel like a Marvel movie, and it was a Marvel movie. But I think the difference between that and Winter Soldier is that it still felt a part of the Marvel universe. And so I can hang on to that, and I can like that aspect of it a lot. I can like the stuff with Black Widow and Captain America.
Yeah.
But with it gets better the more I watch it. But with Jessica Jones, like I feel like it's in the MCU, but I don't want to see Jessica. It's not like when I saw Daredevil, and I'm like, I want to see Daredevil in the Avengers. I don't want to see Jessica Jones in anything anymore. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
actually, there's one last thing we could throw in to homework. Do you want to talk about the last episode of Walking Dead? Just real quick.
Like this past episode that came on tonight?
Yeah, I mean, there's one that's on right now, which I haven't seen. But I mean, last week where they showed that Glenn is alive.
Oh, yeah. We can do that. Great.
Have you seen the episode for tonight yet?
No, well,
all right, we'll talk about that.
It comes on 8 o'clock here. That can be a new thing. We can cover episodes of a show and homework. We can just do that. That works. Okay, yeah.
Because now we got the timestamps. People can just jump if they don't want to.
Awesome. Yeah, let's talk last week's episode of Walking Dead.
Glenn does live.
Some beef shank. It's some beef shank's what it is.
That Nicholas guy was ripped apart. He did crawl under the dumpster. And even though I kind of said that would be cheating if they did it, I am still glad that he's around. And I think they might have done it just so that the impact of him getting killed by Negan is even more intense.
They can't kill him. They can't get Negan to kill him anymore.
Why not?
Because that takes away the gravity of the situation.
But I think that was the idea, though. Oh, you think he's dead? Yay! Like, he's probably not going to see his wife again. Here's what I think is going to happen: he's probably going to get captured by Negan and his crew, and that he will not see his wife again until Negan brings him out to bash his head in, and that'll be the last thing. So I think they did it to sort of like make that moment when he dies even more of a punch in the gut, because we thought he died once already. But he didn't. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that takes it away some. Like if they didn't kill Glenn, imagine if instead of imagine if they just had Glenn, if they just had Glenn go underneath the dumpster and that ended the episode. The episode ends with the same way Rick was in the tank in episode 1. This episode ends with Glenn underneath the dumpster and all the zombies around him, and then it ends that way. And that way he's alive, but he still went through that whole ordeal.
Yeah.
And then they kill him. That makes more sense to me than just making it seem like he died.
I suppose that's true. People will be like, well, if you're going to kill him, why didn't you just kill him back when we thought he was going to die?
Exactly.
People would just say that.
It's like the Marvel method. In the MCU, when they kill but don't kill somebody, we thought Loki was gone. Well, comic book fans didn't think he was gone, but average moviegoers thought Loki was gone at the end of the first Thor. And then he's back by the end of the credits, and you're just like, no.
Yeah.
No, I don't have
I gotta say, though, I don't mind, now that I've seen sort of him die and come back, I don't mind them doing that death fake out for Walking Dead, because they so rarely, I don't think they've ever done a death fake out like that before.
Which is why I like
once
so
with
much
the baby,
about it.
when you thought, Rick's baby was dead, but it turns out it wasn't.
That was powerful, though. That wasn't annoying. That was just shocking. That was a
yeah. But it's what was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't mind them doing a death fake out for Glenn because they so rarely do it. I have issues with Marvel doing it because they do it in every movie. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind them doing it, but maybe their mistake was drawing it out too long. End the episode where we think he's dead. Maybe have the next episode not knowing what's going on, then show him. But they had 2 episodes where we don't know what happened to Glenn, and they strung it out too long. If in the next episode we saw he made it, or the one after, that would have been okay.
Granted, yeah.
Maybe
I smiled. I smiled when they brought him back. But
it was great to see him back. Yeah, but I think they just stretched it out too long. Maybe they could have had Glenn falls off the dumpster, end of that episode, then that boring episode in the town where Maggie's like, I'll never know what happens to him. Then you show he made it. Then you can have the filler episode where Morgan's learning to be a Jedi.
Even have have an episode end with it going flashing back to you can have any one of these episodes that have led to Glenn's resurgence, with the exception of the Morgan episode, have it kind of end with revealing Glenn to be alive.
Yeah.
And like have the episode end with like a shot of Glenn walking with Edith, and then have the next episode open with the flashback of how he survived. I'm just not a fan of them bringing him back, because that now means that a major character death is meaningless unless you physically see them ripped apart, and there's no other way that they can survive unless their head gets chopped off, or even if they lose an arm, probably still gonna be around. Like, unless they get their head chopped off, they get their brains
even if you see
out.
them getting ripped apart, it might not be that. That's what happened with Glenn. It looked like he was getting ripped apart, but it was just a trick. So you can't even trust that anymore.
Well, that looked like he was getting guts ripped out of his chest, and guts aren't in your chest; they're in your abdomen.
Yeah. That's true.
But even to quote Jeremy Johns, even if I see Rick get a gun to his head, the bullet goes and blood just sprays, gets all over on the back of the wall, I will still be like, well, he survived because 50 Cent got shot in the head and he's okay. This now has set a precedent of, okay, so death can now be meaningless to some people.
I don't know if you can set a precedent if you only do it once. I think if they do it again, yeah, but
it at least gives
in Marvel, death is meaningless now because no one ever dies and everyone comes back.
Yeah, I'm expecting Quicksilver spoilers to be back. So
yeah, Quicksilver will come back. Captain America will come back if he dies in Civil War, and the villain will be killed permanently because that's what always happens in Marvel.
They won't kill Captain America in Civil War, because if they bring him back, then that's gonna piss me off.
I think he'll die and he'll come back by the end of the movie. They'll find a way to do it because that's what they always do. But anyway, can we talk about Morgan, Jedi Morgan? He has to sit down with Rick and Michonne and what's the name of the woman? I've forgotten her name again.
Carol,
that's it. Yeah,
I love me some Carol, by the way. She's the character that I think I relate to the most, of just she gets stuff done.
Yeah.
And she takes no nonsense from anybody.
She's a great character, and her sort of journey over the whole season has been so great to see the transformation she's made. Yeah.
I think the way she's grown over the series was kind of sudden in many ways. For the first 3 seasons, she did nothing. She got beat up, and then she was just kind of around. But suddenly, in season 4 to 5-ish, they suddenly decided to give her something to do, which was exciting. But but you were saying.
But this whole thing with Morgan, they have to sit down. They're like, look, you let those wolf guys go, and they almost killed me. You can't do that. And he's like, hey, look, I used to be the crazy killer who would kill everyone, but I don't want to go back to being that person. They're like, well, you might have to. And I was like, okay, first of all, we've had this same thing. We talked about this before, you remember.
Yeah.
We've seen this exact same issue with multiple characters before. How many times do we have to go through it? There's someone who doesn't want to become an animal, doesn't want to kill people, wants to hold on to their humanity, and eventually they realize rules have changed and they have to adapt. We've seen that before. I think
they've done something different with Morgan, though. Not from the fact that he doesn't want to kill people, but because of what Michonne said whenever she tells him, he's like, you don't have to become a monster, you just have to kill when it's necessary. Like that. Yeah.
And that's it. I was like, why are they even having this conversation? It's not even that hard. It's like he's got this code of I don't kill. All you need to do is just say, just put in a clause like I won't kill. Unless it's necessary, or I will only kill to protect others. It's simple. Problem solved. Yeah.
But what I also think is that the difference, I think, between someone like Tyrese or Herschel was more of these people are still human. This is wrong. With Tyrese is just I don't want to kill anyone. And we never really learned why. With Morgan, we see that him being the Jedi kind of guy and not killing anyone. That is his way of staying sane. Yeah. This is because think about it. This philosophy is all he has. Everything he's had, whether it be his wife, his son, Eastman, his surroundings, his insanity, he's lost all of that. And now the other thing that's keeping him together from basically becoming an empty shell of a person is his morals. And I understand why this character is the way he is, and I really like that. I think they've done great stuff with Morgan this season. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see what happens.
Join us next week when we talk about Walking Dead in spoilers detail. I don't want to hear any comments.
Do you reckon Negan will bash in Morgan's head instead of Glenn's?
I think Negan's going to kill Daryl.
No,
Because,
they can't do
yes,
that. No, everyone will
they
stop
have-
watching the show if they do that.
That's not true. Anyone who says that is lying to you. Because if you're watching The Walking Dead only because of Daryl, you would have stopped watching a long time ago. Because they've given Daryl literally nothing to do for the last 2 seasons. So
What are you talking about? He's always fantastic.
he's
like The
he's
Rock.
great.
He's great in everything, no matter what he does.
No, he's great, but he's not. I don't want to say a prevalent character. He's not a character that does a lot of things. Like I can name you a lot of things. I can name you things that Rick has done, that people who have died like Bob has done. I cannot name you great things Daryl has done that weren't just big action set pieces. Like you can be like, well he threw that grenade in the tank, man, that was so cool. I'm like, yeah, action scene, great. Well, he shot that walker with the arrow that was stuck in its own leg. I'm like, great, action scene.
Well,
Like
that's who he is.
like,
He's the action guy.
exactly, but I think I think someone important. Negan needs to kill a major guy, someone who's been around since nearly the beginning. So
Yeah.
I think it's either going to be Daryl or Michonne. I don't think they can do Glenn. They can't kill Glenn right now. I don't think that's what they can do.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Because but I don't. What was I?
But I am hoping the next couple episodes pick up a little bit, because since Glenn died, it's kind of been just sort of coasting along, I reckon. I think
really
it's time
liked
for
the
them to kick
90-minute
it up into the next
Yeah.
year again.
Well, I really liked the Morgan episode. They did like the hour and a half special.
I like that too. Yeah,
That really warmed my heart, and just it was a refreshing set of pace from that first 3 blocks where it was just action packed and intense. I loved it.
But I think what it's been. Sorry, I keep interrupting. Go on.
No. Well, I've talked a lot. You go ahead.
Well, I think what it's been missing is also something I'm going to bring up for when we talk about Mockingjay, is like, because since when the wolves attacked the town, I always forget the name of that town. What is it again? Alexandria. When the wolves attacked Alexandria, like, you need an opposing force in The Walking Dead, whether it's the governor or the cannibals or the wolves. And when they attacked the town, that kind of put an end to that threat. So since then, it's just kind of been coasting along, and we don't have a threat until Negan shows up. You need to, like, it's great to have like those episodes like Morgan that rounds out the backstory and stuff like that. But even if they're not actually fighting an opposing threat, you need to know there's another threat out there, and they haven't established what the new threat is since the wolves have left. So it's, to me, it kind of feels like it's missing something. They're need to bring in Negan.
Yeah, well, they're trying to make it seem like it's the walkers that are surrounding it, but all it really is making them stay there. It's really just making them sit there. My main concern, like what I'm most worried about,
well, now the wolves have come down.
Well, my main concern is that now they're just gonna be walking around in the woods for the rest of the season, and that's gonna piss me off, because that's my main problem with like season 4 through like half season 5, is that it's just them walking around in the woods doing nothing and wasting time because that's all AMC. They're going. I don't want them to want, because like when episode 1 happened,
it did feel a bit like that, of that episode where we see Daryl, he runs into those 2 people.
Exactly.
And even though that sets up the Saviors, because they do talk about the Saviors, which is Negan's group.
Yes.
Even though that felt like that. I was like, it feels like we're wasting time. You could have handled this in one scene and then moved on.
Also, they've gone back to their old habits of having. I think I talked about this before, of having someone talk to someone about a situation, and then someone go talk to someone else about the exact same situation.
Yeah.
And then have that second person go talk back to the first person about the same situation. And so that was season 2's biggest problem, is that like with Sophia in the barn, like Glenn will go talk to Herschel about Sophia, and then Herschel will go talk to Maggie about Sophia, and then Maggie will go back and talk to Glenn about Sophia, and then it'll all be the same. Like they'll basically all be thinking the same thing. And it wasn't until like episode 10 of that season where they all decided to sit around and talk together as a group. And so I'm worried that like they did that like twice this season, and it really upset me. And, old habits die hard, AMC. Making me nervous.
Well, hopefully we see Negan soon, because I think we need to know what the opposition is and what they're up against. Other than just the Walkers don't really even count anymore. Even though it's a super PAC, it still doesn't quite count. You need an opposing anyway.
Well, considering the fact that every shot at this point is a headshot, Like, considering that every time they shoot a zombie, it's a headshot. He'll point at your feet and it'll be a headshot. So, that takes away all weight of Walker. It's like, unless you're out of ammo.
They shoot like backwards over their shoulder, headshot.
It's a headshot, yeah. And which is fine, but the Walkers aren't really a threat anymore. Don't act like they are. They're not.
Yeah.
So who do you think? What do you think is going to happen on this mid-season finale? What do you got pegged to happen?
Well, the Walkers have got through, so it's probably all going to be about everyone trying to take out all the Walkers, or like trying to block them from swarming through the town or something.
It's going to end with them escaping and just leaving and going to the woods.
Oh,
because
no, come on, please don't do that.
It's AMC, and it's cheap to film in the woods. We talked about this before.
No.
It's going to end with them walking to the woods. And I'm going to be so mad, because it's going to be like, come back this February, but to see people walking in the woods.
Either that'll happen, or they'll be overrun by the Walkers, and something will come to save them at the last minute, like all of Negan's crew.
Yeah.
Or something
I saw this really great poster on iFunny, and it said, "Get ready this October 4, people talking, and sometimes zombies show up." And it's like that's like that, and then it's like Walking Dead in one picture, people talking.
Yeah,
sometimes zombies show up. It's gotten better though. I'll give you that. It's gotten better. They've fixed themselves with this past season. I think Carl might get his eye shot out.
Does he die when he gets his eye shot out? Because I've heard that someone spoiled of how that happens, but so he doesn't die from that.
No, I don't think they're not going to kill Carl, but
I think Morgan is going to kill that wolf that's in the basement. Either that or Walkers will swarm in there and kill him anyway.
Well, I think he's just going to bleed out and turn into a Walker, and maybe have someone get bitten by him, and so Morgan's going to feel bad about that. But so I think someone might die this episode. I don't know who it's going to be. It might be it's going to be a lot of people from Alexandria, of course, but I'm talking about like more of the main cast. Sasha might go. I don't know. Sasha might die because she's doing nothing except pouting. So I don't know. But I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this.
You know what I want to see? I want to see more of. There was that team up where Daryl teamed up with the gay guy, and the two of them would go out and scout for new people. Yeah. I really like that. I want to see more of that, because talk about an odd couple. Because like Daryl's this crazy redneck, you would never expect he would get along with like a gay guy, but they do, and they're a really good team. So I want to see the two of them having another adventure. That was interesting to me.
And speaking of the gay thing, they touch on the whole lesbianism.
Yeah.
I think it was last week's episode, might be a couple episodes ago.
They kind of haven't done anything with it again, have they?
No, and which both upsets me and yet kind of makes me feel indifferent about things, because as we all know here, I am not one to oppose homosexuality. I'm completely okay with it. I'm actually very much a supporter of the whole ordeal. That being said, don't
ordeal?
I feel like
ordeal.
Well, so
what do you mean?
I was sore. Ah, crap! Oh, Jesus Christ! Oh, here we go. You hate gay people.
It's all right. I know what you mean. Go on.
The ordeal that people hate them, the whole religion thing and all that.
Yeah.
I don't want people to do it. It feels like they did it just to get attention. Just to these characters have done nothing for the past 3 episodes. Give them something to do. Okay, they'll be gay. And then I felt pointless.
Well, I guess what else? They already had that lesbian character, so I guess if you're not going to give her a love interest, what else are you going to do with that character? I guess I don't know.
Kill her off.
Just kill her off, or kill.
Wait,
cut the fat if you don't need a character.
Wait, I have a question. How many black people do they have in the show right now? How many
there's
black characters?
Michonne, there's Morgan.
There's Michonne, Morgan, Sasha.
Sasha.
I'm missing one.
I feel
like there's another one. Is that it?
Well, Glenn's not black, but he's multicultural. He's Asian.
Well, I mean, because they can only have so many black people on the show at once. I've learned that the hard way. They killed off T-Dog because they got a bunch of black prisoners in season 3. And then once all those guys were gone, they brought in they brought in Tyrese or whatever, and then they brought back Morgan for an episode, and then they brought in Bob eventually, and they had to kill off Bob. And so I think there's a quota really of black people that they have to keep on the show, and I've noticed that pattern. They can't. Me and my friend Christian have discovered this. They can't keep too many black people on the show, which is weird. It's a weird pattern that they've developed.
Are there any Hispanic characters? I don't think there are any at all.
There were a few in the governor's crew. Back in
Oh, that's true.
3
Yeah,
and
there
4.
was.
There were a few, and then the governor killed them all off.
So I don't know what happened to the Hispanic population. That's apparently disappeared.
Yeah, they wiped them out.
But what about Abraham and Sasha? Like Abraham's like, hey, let's start dating, and she's like, I don't know. Those mutton chops are disconcerting.
He's like Lando. It's like Lando and Leia. Like, hey, I got a thing going on, and she's like, no.
Whatever happened to his old girlfriend? Is she still around?
Rosita?
Did she get
Rosita,
eaten?
She's the one training those guys in the last episode with Eugene.
Oh, that's right.
She's the one training those guys.
That was funny. She's like, I got to teach you how to use a hatchet. And I'm like, it's really not that hard, is it? You just swing at the head.
I mean, granted, she was giving good tips. You got to slide down so he doesn't get stuck.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I think that's all I can think of from Walking Dead.
And I hope they give it a rest of this whole thing of like Rick and all his crew are like teaching everyone like, now you got to toughen up. It's like that was good for a few episodes, but I think they all kind of get that at this point.
Yeah.
So they can like she was giving that same speech to everyone again. I'm like, I think we can move on from this now.
Yeah, but at the same time, the people of Alexandria still haven't really toughened up.
Yeah, but a lot of them are. Like the gay guy's good. The mayor's son. I mean, he screwed up climbing over that rope.
I feel like the gay guy was already. I won't say tough, but he was already willing to go out there and get going because he was doing the runs to begin with.
Yeah.
But Spencer, Deanna's son. What? I don't want to use that. I don't want to use the R word. What a complete moron.
Yeah.
What a complete idiot.
But
I would have dropped him in there. I would like give me your backpack.
And the fact that he gives everyone that speech of like, don't steal the food, and then he steals food. What a scumbag, really.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting character. I want to see what happens to him because that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, he's just going to become a good guy, then become boring and have no personality. Oops. Oops. Did I drop the bomb right there? # Glenn.
Maybe he could be another Nicholas, you know?
And just get everyone around him killed?
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. Oh, boy. He gets Deanna killed.
So, should we get on to our feature presentation?
Yeah.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, so first for starters, last week I got a screening, thank God, to Good Dinosaur. I saw it Monday, and let me just get started by first saying that this is one of the worst put together screenings I've ever been to. Because it's not at the usual theater. It's usually at this IMAX theater, kind of further away from where I'm at, about 12 or so miles away. This one was at a theater closer to mine. It's a smaller theater. And so me and my friend get to the theater, and it's my friend Christian that I always talk about him. He's part of Podcast Media. So me and Christian get to the theater, and we have our tickets, and we get there, and the lady says, okay, you're going to have to go to the other side of the theater because this line's too full. And I'm like, okay. So we go to the other side of the theater, and then we're waiting with her for 20 minutes. And the screening starts in 10 minutes. And we're just like, and then we walk over, and everyone is already in the theater, gotten their seats. And I'm so annoyed because we were there 40 minutes ahead, and I was just, and so then we get in the theater, and the movie's in 3D, and then they didn't have 3D glasses out. Like they usually have 3D glasses out maybe by the door. They like pick them up on your way in. No. They give it to the people inside the theater. So it's all complicated. It's a kids movie, so there's 50 bajillion children running around, and when the movie starts, kids want to start crying and screaming and talking loudly and attacking their food and kicking my chair. And just, that being said, The Good Dinosaur was a really, really good movie. I really enjoyed The Good Dinosaur.
Okay.
Everyone's saying that the plot is too simple and by the numbers.
Can I say I have not seen a single trailer, so just give me a thumbnail sketch of what the plot is.
Okay. Well, from the trailers, and Pixar trailers are usually terrible. The trailer, how do I put this? So, the meteor that killed the dinosaurs missed, which led the dinosaurs to develop. They don't really dwell into that process much. It's not like modern times with the dinosaurs. It's more or less, it's very much just like a Western set in the dinosaur times.
Okay.
You know, but not like Western like spaghetti Clint Eastwood cowboy westerns. More or less a Western of like it feels like it's set in the late 1800s because it's all about
Hang on, I'm already confused. Are the dinosaurs still dinosaurs, or are they like humanoid evolved descendants of the dinosaurs, like the Super Mario Brothers universe?
No, they're dinosaurs. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to make this as less confusing as possible. You know what? Let me just give you the regular story. A dinosaur is separated from his family and has to get back to his family with the help of a small child who acts like a dog, and it's them going on this adventure, this usual Pixar quest to get back home.
So it's Finding Nemo again, kind of.
That's what I said to Christian. I was like, this is like Finding Nemo meets Ice Age, which isn't that bad because both are great movies, in my opinion. That being said, the plot is simple, and the plot is we have seen this plot before, but that's not bad because we've seen the plot of Finding Nemo before in Toy Story. Toy Story is about toys that get separated and have to make their way back home. You know, Monsters Inc. is about these two guys trying to get this little girl back home. Pixar's all about Journey Back Home. Inside Out was about Journey Back Home. That being said, the animation is flawless. Like there's a shot of a branch with berries on it, and I turned to Christian and I said, "This looks like they took a picture. Like, why would they shoot real footage and then CG in the dinosaurs?" Christian said, no, this is this animation. Like, no, it's not. Like, there's no way they can make this look that good. It looks incredible. Like the animation it's photorealistic.
Wow.
You know, which is a great blend because the dinosaurs look more cartoony, so it's a great balance. But at the same time, they also look really textured, which is cool. So it's a great balance of it really makes the characters pop. And it looks like the background looks like a painting, and it's wonderful. All the voice talent is great, but ultimately the movie is it's very harrowing. It's a very, I don't want to call it a dark movie, but it's very, a lot of sad stuff happens. It feels a lot like the opening to Land Before Time, where without giving anything away, you know, tragedy happens because it's a Disney movie, and then and it's just the elements are being thrown at this little dinosaur. He's a Brachiosaurus, so he's a long neck, and he's just being so much is just being thrown at him already. When he's born the run of the litter, and he spends his whole life trying to make sure that he stands out in his family, and then when he gets separated from his family, and it's him trying to get back, he's learning his lesson, but life keeps kicking him in the balls every single time. To the point to where when he finally makes it back home, everyone's just like, oh, well, spoilers. Oops. Well, it's a movie. He makes it back home. To the point where he finally makes it back home, everyone's just like, yeah, he makes it. And I'm just like, this kid has been through too much. Like and it's a harrowing experience, but ultimately it's also very cute, and it's a feel-good movie. And it's a movie I recommend you watch if you're a fan of those kind of movies. I give it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Is it something you reckon my 9-year-old nephew would like? Does it sort of fit for that age group?
Is your 9-year-old what is your 9-year-old nephew? Is he into more of the fast-paced Lego movie style of movies? Because
he likes funny stuff and a bit of action. Has it got all that, or is it all the heartwarming stuff?
It's more drama than comedy. There isn't a lot of comedy in it. Okay. That's not true. It's actually pretty funny. He's gonna love the little kid who acts like a dog. He's gonna love that.
All right.
I'm sure he'll enjoy it.
Okay.
And cool. he'll like the dinosaur action. It's
so
nice.
It sounds like it's more in the Inside Out sort of direction than the Minions direction in terms of kids entertainment. Yeah.
I mean, it's a kiddie movie for sure, but it's a movie that adults can enjoy too.
Sure.
It's not like Inside Out where you feel like adults are going to get more out of it.
Yeah.
It's definitely targeted towards kids, but adults are going to have a good time too.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, do you know who Sam Elliott is? The narrator for I think Big Lebowski. He was in Ghost Rider.
The cowboy guy.
T-Rex. Yeah. He voices a T-Rex in it. And right away, I'm just like, that's Sam Elliott. We're talking about Dodge,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shall we move on to Mockingjay now?
I guess.
Yes.
Ew.
All right. Let me...
Ew. Okay.
Well, before you say about how much you hated Mockingjay, do you mind if I start?
Well, first of all, spoilers. Full spoilers, guys.
Yeah, full spoilers. It's been
go
long
ahead.
enough.
Go ahead.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I gotta say, like, before you even say, like, the first 2/3 or 2 acts, if we're still sticking to the act structure, were really, really bland, and as Immortan Joe would say, mediocre.
Mediocre. I love that edit that you always put in there.
Yeah, I've got that. I've got that sound as like a regular thing for our show now. So
yeah,
whenever anyone says mediocre, I've got it on hand to insert it.
Mediocre.
So So the first 2 acts really bland, really, really mediocre. But that last 1/3, I think, I loved it, and it sort of compensated for all the other boring stuff before it. And I think that ending really just proves to me why it is that out of all the young novel kind of movies that are out there, like, that last 1/3 is the reason why Hunger Games stands head and shoulders above all of the others. And granted, that's not necessarily saying a lot, because a lot of the other ones are pretty substandard by any standard.
I like what Mr. Sunday Movie says about Divergent, about how he always criticizes it.
Yeah.
Even though he says, like, everyone looks like they want to kill themselves while on screen. That gets me every time. Cause I'm like, that's pretty much describes the movie.
Yeah. But I think that last 1/3 is fantastic, and we'll talk about it in more detail when we get to it. But that's my general overview. And of course, Jennifer Lawrence, beautiful as always, and she has those cute two little sort of freckles on her neck. I love those. So next time you see her, you'll notice those freckles on her neck.
I mean, I've
really
noticed them. I've noticed her clavicles, Bandit. That's all right.
Anyway, that was my overview. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was trash. So
the whole thing.
Well, not the whole thing. I didn't give it a 0. I gave it a 4 out of 10 when I first saw it, like 4.5 or whatever out of 10. Just because it's the pacing is so wrong.
Yes.
This whole movie, it rushes past other things while spending just spending too much time on other things.
Yeah.
It drags out stuff and yet rushes past other things.
I agree.
And
sorry to interrupt. I'll just example to what you were saying. There was the whole dilemma of there's this mountain full of people. Do we take it? Do we risk blowing up the civilians or not? They rush past that, and instead they have like a 10-minute scene where right in the middle of them trying to attack the Capitol, they all sit down and watch TV for 20 minutes.
Exactly.
So like you're saying, some things, like the whole dilemma with the mountain, that's interesting, they rush past, and then they waste all this time in the middle of a battle, sitting there watching TV, where they're like, "Oh, Katniss Everdeen was killed. No, he wasn't. Who cares?" Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. I just want to throw that in.
And no, this is a discussion, so I'll try to keep my cool here. And also, the movie feels weightless. I felt no stakes. I felt like nothing bad. Well, not nothing bad. I felt like nothing. I didn't care if something bad was going to happen. I didn't care about PETA because PETA has been given no personality since Catching Fire, and so even then, even then, his personality dies out halfway through, really. And so at this point, he's just kind of this PTSD, shaking his head kind of thing. And look, the movie has balls. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
The movie has balls for ending it the way they did. I will give it that.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's how the way it ended in the book. But it is an adaptation. You are making a movie. You are making entertainment for millions of eyes to see. So you don't have to have a big and epic action sequence to end the movie, but you still have to have a satisfying conclusion. You still have to have the movie feel. You still have to give the audience closure.
You didn't think it was a satisfying conclusion? I thought that was a great ending for the whole trilogy.
Not at all. I
Really?
thought.
How can you say that's not a satisfying ending?
I thought the President coin switch and what she did, I thought it made no sense. I thought it didn't make. I thought that's not how they set up that character. Like if they gave little seeds of that she would turn, that she would want to take over the Capitol, then maybe. it makes I don't want to start screaming, but it makes no sense when they're like, we have to do a Hunger Games for the Capitol kids. And
sorry, go on. I don't want to interrupt you.
And everyone's like, and most people are like, yeah, we totally makes more sense. No, it does not, because now you're just being just as bad as the Capitol was to you. When Joanna is just like, I mean, yeah, they got to pay for what they did. I'm like, it's not their fault. It's like you were doing exactly what Snow did to you guys, and
which is the whole point of the scene. Yeah, like
yeah,
I think it does. Look, I think it makes sense in the context of that in real life, whenever there's like a revolution and people are overthrown, that's exactly what happens, is the people who do the overthrowing end up becoming just as bad as the people they overthrew. It makes sense in that regard. Is it set up? No. The way there's no hint in anything. Well, there is a bit in this that she's kind of evil. You know, she brings Peter along in the hope that he'll kill Katniss, blah blah blah. But in the last movie, nothing.
I'll give you that.
Nothing to indicate that she's evil. So I think it does make sense. It just wasn't set up very well. But anyway, I think like I did actually like. Granted, it kind of sucked that Peter was torn out, as like a lot of his character was ripped out. I guess it makes sense considering what he went through in part 1 and all that stuff. And I did find it interesting a little bit, the whole thing of him being this killer who can't control any much, a snap. But as much as I do like the character of Peter, I think everyone in the audience was like, nah, sorry, you got to kill him. You can't risk having him there around Katniss.
Yeah.
Like when...
And that's not... We shouldn't be feeling that way, though.
Yeah,
we should
that's
feel
right.
like, no, we got to keep Peter alive. Like, we should feel like how they felt.
They did
like,
a terrible job of setting that up.
Going back to Catching Fire... you know, the whole point of Catching Fire when they were in the games is that you have to keep Peter alive. And we felt like it was important to keep him alive because before they got into the games, in that first hour or so of setup, we got to know Peter. We got to know that he's this humble guy. He's this kind guy, but he still wants what's right for his family and this district and all that. So you understood why they had to keep him alive. In this, it's just like, no, he's dangerous. There's nothing of that old Peter in there, and it's ugh.
Well, I mean, and it just doesn't make any sense because, like, even like when he tries to, like, when he first snaps and he tries to like throw Katniss into the black goo, the Prometheus style black goo, like immediately as soon as they got away from that, I was like the commander should turn around and go, "I'm sorry, mate," and just bang, shoot him right there. And I love Peter. And even Peter himself, a couple scenes later, is like, you need to kill me. It's too dangerous to have me here. So they should have done better. I'm sure in the book they had it better explained or set her up. But yeah, they really needed to sort that out because there was no reason. But look, oh man, there was some great stuff. Like, I like the whole thing of like when they were in the tunnels and those mutts. Like, that was scary. But it did make me think, if the Capitol can breed these mutts, why don't they just make thousands of them and make an army? But I don't know.
Or why don't they just grow food? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like if they instead of using all this, and Nick Mason pointed this out. If they can spend billions of dollars to make this Hunger Games, make this elaborate, like have hologram TVs and all that, why can't they just make food?
Yeah.
But and going back to that scene with the mutts. I would have liked it if A, the mutts didn't look so terrible, and if B they didn't. I felt like they milked the tension of that scene.
Yeah.
They milked, like, there's a shot where they go around a corner, nothing's there. They look behind them, nothing's there. They go around a corner again, nothing's there. And then boom, something's there. I'm like, no. Like, you've milked that scene too much. I felt all that tension was lost. I'm now annoyed. And then you just jump scared me, and now I'm even more annoyed. So by that, and then the way they kill Finnick, in that scene with the mutts, no sense, makes no sense. She just stares at him. She's just like, "Sorry, I wish I could."
Well, I mean,
I'm not gonna.
Somebody has to die from the mutts' attack. I mean, come on, they need to have some kind of consequence. They can't let everybody get out of it.
I know, but it's the way they did it. It's the way they shot it, because Finnick's climbing the ladder. He's right next to Katniss, and then Katniss just watches him gets pulled down and just get torn apart. In the book, he gets his head torn off, which they can't do that in the movie, of course. But maybe have Katniss reach out for him, and then have him about to grab her, and then someone pulls her back up or something, and have her cry the fact that he's gone. Like, nothing, just emotion, just like, oh, wait, stop, don't. She really wanted it. Wait, stop, no, wait, what are you doing? Don't do that. And,
yeah, well, that didn't bother me because I didn't really care about the character in the first place. But I thought, but that whole thing you were saying about the disillusion,
he had the most charisma out of the entire franchise, in my opinion.
He was in the second movie. He did nothing in part 1, really. God,
well, no one did anything in part 1, Bandit. No one did anything in part 1.
I'm sure it was a bigger character in the books, but I didn't really feel any big deal seeing him go. But like you were saying, that whole thing about in the tunnels, about the disillusion of tension, I interpreted that totally differently. Because in those kind of scenes, we've seen those kind of scenes a million times before, and your brain can anticipate the jump scare. So like he goes around the corner, and I'm like, okay, jump scare in 3, 2, 1, and nothing happens. I was like, and he comes back and he's okay. And then you're like, okay, jump scare at this moment in 3, 2, 1. And again, he comes back. So I was like, oh, that's good. Because they know that we're anticipating the jump scares here. So they're waiting for a bit where you don't. And then it comes. So whereas you thought it was like dragging it out too much, I appreciated it. Because rather than just immediately have the jump scare, it came at a time when you didn't expect, and they played with your expectations.
But there's still the jump scare. Like there's still like my whole thing is that
it's better than just doing exactly what you expect them to do.
But
come on, it's a movie. They got to surprise us a bit.
Well, you still know the jump scare is coming. It's the worst of surprise.
Well, it's
the jump scare.
Oh yeah, surprise! Characters are gonna die. You know they're gonna die. It's about when and how they're gonna die.
No. I'm saying the fact that there was a jump scare at all is no longer a surprise, just because we're expecting it. So at that point, why try to milk the suspense? Because I've lost all tension. So just
don't have the mutts in the sewers at all. Don't have any action scene there at all.
Maybe do a more compelling jump scare. Maybe don't have a loud noise. Like going back to I Am Legend. We've talked about this before. That scene where he's in the building and he's shining around the flashlight and he shines it quickly and you see all the vampires in the corner. Yeah. And then he quickly comes up the light. That's a jump scare, and it's effective and it's scary.
But I think this was almost as good as that. Because it would draw out the tension before it paid it off. But I don't think it drew it out too far. Like, see,
maybe I was just so done by that point that I just...
yeah. Maybe you just wanted them to go buy the book just to get it over with. But I appreciated them drawing out the tension a bit more. But I think...
I understand why you liked it, though. I will give you that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But let me just say, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I'm trying to find the spot. Because I've written all this stuff in all these notes in my phone, so I thought it was funny.
That's the difference between you and me. You take notes, and I just kind of go off of my memory. So.
Well, I did miss a bit later on, because which we'll talk a bit later, because I was typing in and I missed something that I got to ask you about. But I think overall, I think the problem with the first 2 acts, the first 2/3 of the movie, which again, like Walking Dead, is I think they didn't set up there was no stakes in what they were doing, because I felt like, why are they even the only motivation they had was Katniss wants to go and kill Snow herself. Here's the problem, though. It's an assault on the Capitol. The whole army is attacking the Capitol, and you're actually behind the front line. They established that. So I'm like, it's like the last days of Berlin. You know the Capitol's going to fall no matter what. They'll put up a fight, but they're done. It's over. Snow's going to die no matter what. So who cares if Katniss kills him herself or lets the random soldier kick in the door and shoot him? So I'm like, I didn't feel any stakes as to why is it so important that all these people are dying, getting eaten by mutts in the sewers, just so that you can kill him personally. Why bother?
Thank you.
And even when they're trying to get into the mansion, when they're pretending to be the refugees getting in, I'm like, the army's 5 minutes down the road. Just wait for them to go. Wait for them to catch up and just go in with them. So I think that was a major, major problem for the first 2, is despite how much I enjoyed a lot of the action scenes, you need to set up proper stakes. Like here, because part of when I watch a movie is when I'm driving home, I'll try to rewrite stuff in my head, and kind of a rule of thumb of how I could gauge how much I liked or didn't like it is how much I try to rewrite it in my head. I thought maybe what they could have done is, there's a whole thing of Snow is pulling all the refugees into the mansion, and he gets all the kids in, and I thought, okay, he wants to have them as like a human shield so that they can't bomb the thing. We'll talk about that scene in a minute.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe what they could have done is they could have said to Katniss, we want to take out the mansion. He's filled it full of kids, so we can't bomb it. So we want to send you ahead of the army. If you can sneak in and take out Snow, we don't need to blow up a whole bunch of kids.
Yes.
So then there's like some tension that she's got to do this before the rest of the army gets there. So as to avoid civilian casualties, because they already set that up with the whole thing with the mountain that they didn't want to blow up. So if they had done that, it would have added some urgency to it, but it didn't. It just seemed pointless because I'm like, just let the army do it. You don't need to kill him yourself. Anyway, but let me ask you, because that bit where all the parachute bombs come down and blow everyone up.
Yeah.
Because I was typing it in my phone. I was like, why would Snow blow everyone up? But then it's revealed later on. But because I was typing in, I missed that Katniss' sister was there.
Yes.
How did she get there?
No idea. I think in the book she was there as to help the sick people or something like that. They didn't touch on that in the movie. She's just kind of there and boom, blows up. So
she just appeared there.
Yeah, going back to my
how did the Capitol soldiers let rebel doctors get that close?
Exactly. Going back to my whole they rush over things. They don't touch on that death barely at all. Barely at all. There's a scene with the cat, which is effective. But so the bombs go off and everything blows up, and I think it cuts to black, doesn't it? And then it just cuts to black.
Yeah.
And then it's just war's over. I'm like, no, you can't do that.
No, it does not. It does not say war's over because the story continues. A lesser movie would have just had they blow up the Capitol, they kill Snow, end of story. But Hunger Games continues on and does the whole thing with the execution of Snow, and that's why Hunger Games is better than Maze Runner.
But you can
it's got
still
that
have
smartness to it.
Shut up. But you can still have how do I put this? Going back to Catching Fire, I'm going to compare this to Catching Fire because Catching Fire is the best one in my opinion. Catching Fire was able to do the bombastic blockbuster action and mix it well with the political intrigue. Mix it well and being able give it something else that can stand above the other young adult stuff. But with Mockingjay Part 2, you had the blockbuster action, but that part of it felt weightless. And so when you're building to the point of this big climactic battle, which you have been building to since the opening of the first movie, and to suddenly be like, well, you missed it, sorry, and your sister's dead, but don't worry about it, and then suddenly be like, well, you get to kill Snow. That to me, it felt very anticlimactic. It felt like something felt missing. I didn't feel like they didn't have to have a big epic thing, but they needed something else to make it feel complete. That wasn't just
I think it feels anticlimactic because that's not the climax. The climax is when she shoots the other chick instead of Snow. That's the climax. It's not the final battle. It's
a sucky climax because she shoots.
It was a fantastic climax.
Well, because she shoots a villain that we had no worry. We had no reason to why she would be a villain in 10 minutes until 10 minutes beforehand.
Well, except that she sent Peter in to kill Katniss, and there's that soldier who gives the whole speech about your arrivals. That's why she wants to take him out. And then there's a whole bit later on as well with the letter from Philip Seymour Hoffman. So it's all set up. It is there. It wasn't set up in the last movie, but it was set up in this one. It just wasn't beating you over the head with its simplicity.
I don't buy it. I just something felt maybe it was that pacing. Maybe if they spent more time developing on these things, I would be more invested to when she shot Coin. I saw it coming a mile away. I was like, she's gonna shoot Coin.
I saw it coming too, but I thought it was great. I thought it was great that they went there.
Speaking of which, how long does it take to shoot 2 arrows? Does it take that long time to shoot 2 arrows? Because she could have just went and took out Snow too, but she didn't.
I was expecting that's what she'd do. I thought she'd draw 2 and she'd put 1 in her teeth and then shoot Snow and then boom, shoot the president chick. But let me ask you though, because after the president gets shot and they have the re-election and there's that general chick, the black chick, she becomes the president. Yeah. I got the feeling though that if Philip Seymour Hoffman had not died, his character was going to be elected president, and that they swapped out for that new character, because she becomes president out of nowhere. She's just kind of, hey, here I am, and I'm really cool. And they just threw her in. I was like, that seems really odd. So do you reckon it's possible that Philip Seymour Hoffman was supposed to take on? Because there was more reason to believe that he's a better leader. And
and it is unfortunate about what happened to that guy, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Addiction is a terrible thing, no matter who it happens to. And you can tell, whenever there was a scene that was supposed to be him, that they don't make it him. Like when Haymitch reads a letter from him. The whole time he was reading, I'm like, this would feel so much better if Philip Seymour Hoffman was saying this.
Yeah.
It was weird to see him CG'd in the background in one shot towards the end.
For some reason, it seemed really obviously CG'd in though.
Yeah,
which was strange because the footage was a hologram thing, so you would think in that they could CG it in better, but he still stuck out really weirdly.
Do you think because it was after the scene that he read the letter, right? So I think it's because that thought of, oh my, he's not with us anymore. Maybe it's that uncanny valley effect, kind of like with the Paul Walker thing in the end of Furious 7. We know that's not him, so we can. Our brain goes, so that must be CG. I don't know. I thought we perfected human technology with Ant-Man, but apparently not. So,
but I got to say, I think my favorite scene is actually when she after they take the mansion and she goes into the garden and sees Jon Snow there. Not Jon Snow. What am I talking about?
Game of Thrones crossover. Oh my god. You know
President
nothing,
Snow.
You know nothing, Katniss.
But I love it how Snow is like, you know nothing, Katniss, because that kind of is what he said to her. But no, I just love that she's built it up that he's the devil, which he is. And he basically says, he lays it out for her, like he's figured out. He's like, look, I was bringing all the people into the mansion as a human shield. I'm not going to bomb my own people that I need as a shield, but she did, so that my guards would turn on me.
Yeah.
And I loved it how, that scene where he's able to say, look, hey, I'm a bad guy, but you know who else is a bad guy? And that, he kind of sets that up for her to shoot Coin or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
And I love that scene for the president there. And when she shoots Coin instead, and he just kind of starts laughing.
Yeah.
I think that was a really good ending.
You know how he died,
too.
right? At least in the book, he chokes on his own blood. Because in the books, it's more of a big deal of how he has this thing where he has blood mouth and he kind of bleeds from inside of his mouth.
Yeah.
And you see that in the movie subtly. And so he chokes on his own blood in the book, which is just ugh. But I don't know. Maybe it's just because, like you said, the action. Besides, I think the scene with the tar, that to me was awesome. Like when the guy gets taken into the tar and it's strung up on these wires, I was like, that's good, that's effective, that's scary. And that was, besides that bits, the action felt just, going back to Jessica Jones, it felt weightless. It felt like nothing important, like nothing was happening. I wasn't invested in what was going on. And a lot of things felt very rushed over. And so I wasn't able to care about what was going on. And in the end, I was just like, that sucked.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said for the first 2/3. But for me, I think that last 1/3 was so unique in the young adult genre that I think it saved the whole movie for me.
I mean, the Iron Man 4 twist was unique. Doesn't mean it makes the movie good. I mean, I'll give you, the twist in Iron Man. The Mandarin twist was unique.
Dude,
but that isn't.
This is 100 million times better than that stupid twist in Iron Man 3.
I'm just giving an example. I'm just saying, just because something they're doing is unique does not mean that I don't think that excuses it for being good.
No, it's smart. It's intelligent. You don't get that in young adult movies. It's historically accurate. It's like the whole thing of bringing down the capital is basically the communist revolution. It's the rich people were oppressing the poor, communists take over, and then they end up oppressing the poor as well in the same kind of way. So Coin was basically, her twist was a commentary on that. So, and I think that's a good message to kids, because a lot of it before this was, question authority and, try to see through propaganda that's presented to you. But then at the end, it's also but you've also got to watch out for the people who come across as, your saviors as well, because they can also be bad guys. And
Okay.
I love
You know
that.
what, Bandit?
That's so good, and it's such an appropriate message. That's what I'm saying.
That's good. What you said, along with what Doug Walker said in his review of this movie, I think has helped me shed a new light on this movie. I think what they tried, and here's how I look at it. What they tried to get across, that's a good point. I think that's a good way of doing that finale. That being said, I think my problem with it is that I don't feel like it was earned in any way. I don't feel like that it was developed, and I don't feel like they worked at it as much as they should have.
Yeah.
Which is why, which inclines me to look back at it and say, okay, so why would they just drag out these scenes? And then going back and looking at it again, and so I would say, so that inclines me to
I agree with you. I think none of it was developed as well as it could, and I think that's probably a combination that these good sort of messages come from the book, but they're being put in this movie by directors and a creative team that probably doesn't fully understand it. So that's why it's kind of clumsily handled.
I think it's just it might be because they split it into two parts.
Oh, I think that's definitely a big part.
Think about it. If they spent like that whole thing with Coin and the whole, she has another agenda. If they took a lot of that and put a lot of this, what you're talking about, of how kind of there's always a bigger fish kind of thing into Mockingjay Part 1, and kind of had that be the setup, and this is just the payoff, and where you cut down on a lot of the pointless stuff in this movie, and you have it, and you really have, and that way you can skip past that the climactic battle taking of the Capitol, and you can really focus on, again, the political intrigue of it. Well, I guess that's why I decided that they should have just went with the climactic battle to begin with, because they didn't develop on what they. So
I think it's definitely true that if they had just made Mockingjay just one movie and cut out all the unnecessary stuff in Part 1, cut out all the unnecessary stuff in Part 2, and made it like that'd be an epic finale movie. It would have been fantastic.
Could you imagine?
And it would have been able to build up the turn for Coin a lot better if it was one movie too.
Yeah, could you imagine if they did Catching Fire and then did Mockingjay the way that they were trying to do Mockingjay?
Oh, it'd be one of those movies you'd need to watch twice, because it'd have a lot of stuff packed in.
People would look at this as a really awesome modern trilogy of movies, because
absolutely
they would have gotten better as they went along.
But instead, this has made the least amount of money of any of them, hasn't it?
Yeah. At this point, I think so.
Let there be a lesson to you, Hollywood. Sure. Stop doing this splitting the end thing in two. You shoot yourself in the foot with that.
Unless you need to, like Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter needed to.
Yeah.
Because, like we said, that book is the size of a cow's head, and that book is like 800 pages.
But I'll say there was I also liked after she shoots Coin.
Yeah.
There was that bit where, remember, she goes to eat the poison pill and Peter stops her.
Yeah.
And I like that because you remember at the start, at the first movie of Hunger Games,
with the berries,
he goes to eat the berries and she stops him.
Yes.
So it was like a reversal of that. See, like little things like that, I was like, oh, this is good. That's why I think it was a good wrap up for the whole movie. And it was nice that Jennifer Lawrence ended up with, the nice guy got the girl in the end instead of the hunky Hemsworth guy. Well, he turned out to be a psychopath.
I don't think in the book he's a complete psychopath at that point. I don't think he is in the movie though. In the movie, at least what they set him up to be, in the movie he's been, I don't want to say tarnished, he's been hardened by war, and so I don't think he knew that they were going to bomb the children. I think he developed the bombs and then they used it for the children. And so I don't think.
So I didn't even understand that bit where he was explaining. I was like, does that mean he wasn't bombing? But I didn't get that whole thing. So
he made the bombs. I think if I got this, he made the bombs for the rebellion, and then they used it on the children. Coin used it on the children.
Okay.
So I don't think it was justified.
How does a guy who farms and hunts in the woods know how to build these sophisticated bombs? These are questions you shouldn't ask.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
How is he suddenly a demolition expert? I don't know.
How does Harvey Dent survive 3 days with his face and have his face burnt off? I don't know.
Shouldn't it have been the black guy who was really good with gadgets? Shouldn't he have designed those bombs? You don't need to think about it.
But I don't know. But like you said, there were the themes of the movie were good. The theming was great, but the execution just, in my opinion, still trash.
Yeah, I agree with you.
my rating will go up to a 5 out of 10 because looking at it deeper, this is now more wasted potential than terrible movie. I'll give it that. This movie is now officially wasted potential.
Yeah.
But it's still mediocre. Okay, do you have anything else you want to say on Mockingjay Part 2?
Oh, well, I don't think at all you can say it's mediocre.
Yeah.
I think, look, kind of like back when we talked about Maze Runner 2, and you sort of said, compared to some of the other trash in young adult movies, it's kind of the best of a bad lot. I feel like that about this, only much more strongly. I think
Scorched Trials is better than Mockingjay Part 2.
You're insane.
Oh,
You're absolutely insane if you think that.
I was about to get shot.
No, it is not.
Like a red dot on my forehead. All the way from Australia.
I've suddenly appeared in the room with a gun in my hand. There you go. No.
Wait,
I thought
Williams,
it was a fitting end. Even though it had a whole lot of dumb stuff, like the whole bit where, even though they're about to go into the mansion, the Hemsworth guy, he gets captured by the peacekeepers, and he's like, "Shoot me! I don't want to get tortured." And it's like, well, dude, the army's going to be here in like 30 seconds. I don't think you need to worry about that. They won't even have time to take you down to the torture cell by the time the army gets here. You're fine.
Bandit,
don't worry about it. You're lucky they're trying to take you prisoner and not just executing you on the spot, because that's what should happen. But you got main character powers, so it doesn't. So
looking at it as a complete movie, looking at this as a movie, the way it is, the plot goes, the pacing, and the characters, I will say I think Scorched Trials is a better movie than Hunger Games or Mockingjay Part 2. Neither of them are great, but I think because Mockingjay, I was more disappointed after watching Mockingjay because I could see, in the same way that I feel like Scorched Trials is a better movie than something like Revenge of the Sith, where Revenge of the Sith was so close to being, this could have been classic Star Wars.
Yeah.
But they did a lot of terrible things that just bogged it down into being a more disappointing waste of potential affair. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because on the one hand, if you just look at it as just a single movie, considering that 2/3 of it is kind of bland and average at best, and it's only that last 1/3 that's kind of impressive in any way, looking at it in that way, you would have to say it's a general thumbs down, but you can't look at it just that way, because it is the finale of the whole series of Hunger Games, and as a finale, I think it did its job very well because of that ending. So looking at it as a finale for the whole series, I think it was great. And as sappy as it was to see Jennifer Lawrence sitting in the grass, holding a baby.
I hate that so much.
I know, but it's the end of a trilogy. Come on. It's like...
It didn't feel earned.
It's like the middle... What do you mean it didn't feel earned?
I didn't feel like it was earned.
What do you mean it didn't feel earned? After everything she went through, in all the movies, you don't think she deserved a happy ending?
I think Katniss deserves a happy ending, and I think that she deserves her happy ending that she gets in the book. That being said, looking at it as the movie, the character that they've established in this movie, and the way the movie is, I don't think the movie earned that ending. I don't think the movie itself earned, just for a movie being so boring, the fact that they wanted to end it Return of the King style with this 10-minute, back at home scene.
The movie just on itself, but you can't look at it as just on itself, because it's the end of the whole thing.
As a conclusion to the franchise, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it's very good as a conclusion.
It's a bridge to the first movie, kind of connecting itself to when she's talking about Tom the Prim. But at that point, I was just like, this has done nothing for me. So I was like, fine. She got a kid. Great, awesome. She named it something weird. Great, have fun. But it's funny because in the book they say a line. Let's say there's a line like, PETA will occasionally go back into like Jason Bourne mode and strangle her from time to time, and so I was hoping they would throw. I was really hoping they would throw that in there, so that like when she goes to cuddle with him in the bed, I was really hoping that he would just be like, God, start strangling her again. But they didn't.
They're there in the field at the end. Then he snaps and he like throws the baby at her, and he's like, ah!
Yeah. Like she just gets hit in the head, like throw her head against a tree or whatever. Like he kisses the baby goodnight and then just goes and grabs a knife. Like yeah, like
that would be a very different ending. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what they do it in the book, and so like like it's a happy ending. But like occasionally he'll go back into his old ways. I'm like whoa. Occasionally he'll go back and strangle me in my sleep. But that's Mockingjay, I guess.
No, I generally I'd say if you enjoyed like say the first two movies, of course nobody liked part one of Mockingjay, but if you like the first two, you could probably skip part one of Mockingjay, I think, and just go straight to this. Really,
yeah, absolutely, because
all you need to know about Peter turning evil, you get that. They sort of explain that at the start, so...
Yeah, and know that President Coin made a lot of speeches in that first part.
Yes.
That movie's like 80% speeches. Oh, my God.
President Jon Snow, yes.
This franchise really tested my patience, because I don't think Mockingjay is that good of a book anyways, to begin with. But
Well,
I don't see why they took the worst book and put it into 2 movies.
Well, it's interesting for a whole franchise that built itself around the Hunger Games themselves, how quickly it sort of moved away from that. Yeah. Yeah. So, but hey, I guess it's not just about the games. But anyway. Yeah. That's what I'd give it a general thumbs up, and I'd say if you're a fan of the overall franchise, you'll enjoy it.
All right.
It's just I give
it a thumbs down. That's my Roger Ebert impersonation. That's my best Roger Ebert. I give it a thumbs down. Yeah.
I give it a thumb up.
All right, Gene. All right, calm down. Siskel. Okay. All right. So, listener questions. For you guys
listener questions.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Yes. Every week, usually, unless we're going to bank them, Bandit will post a thing on his Facebook and Twitter saying, hey, ask questions for the podcast, and we'll answer them on the podcast, give you a little shout-out. It's wonderful. We all love it. It's fun. Okay, so on Facebook here, Daniel D. asks, when are you going to release a new video? Oh, wait, never mind. Nope, wrong question. Okay, he asks, what happened to the comic series that you made?
Well, way to spring one on me. That actually wasn't my comic series. It's Winston Williams' comic series. He just put me on as the writer. And I haven't heard from Winston in a really, really long time. So I don't know what's happened. I think maybe he just dropped off the radar. I don't know.
Okay. I wrote about four issues. I was kind of wondering that too myself. I was kind of wondering that too.
Yeah, but so I wrote about 4 issues, and I was doing it in exchange for animation for the channel, but I don't know what's happened. You just, whether he got another writer, or maybe he hasn't been able to continue it, or what have you, but at the moment it doesn't look like that'll ever happen, which is a shame.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's see here. Do you have one on Twitter that you want to ask?
No, I thought we'd finish up the ones here on Facebook, because there's tons
Okay. All right, so Andrew Loving on Facebook asks, good name, by the way, do you think it's time to hang up James Bond?
I don't think it'll ever be time to hang up James Bond. I think it's time to hang up Daniel Craig, for sure, because he's clearly had enough. And I've clearly had enough of him.
I didn't feel that way when I first saw Spectre. I'm like, no, I want to see one more Daniel Craig. But at this point, I'm so indifferent about the whole ordeal. So I really don't care whether or not he comes back. He's good, but I don't care whether or not they bring him back. What's so interesting about James Bond is that it started out very much as Ian Fleming's James Bond, what his books were about. But as times went on, James Bond adopted what was popular in the times. So in the 70s, it was blaxploitation, Asian-style filmmaking, 70s disco, and then in the 80s, James Bond became the 80s action hero, and then in the 90s, it was the 90s action hero, and then come 2006, he became Jason Bourne, and so James Bond is very much more, he'll adopt what's happening next, so. He's probably going to go back to being more fun Kingsman style of Bond. That's what I'm expecting from the James Bond franchise next.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I think I don't think James Bond will ever disappear. I think it's one of those things that will continue to evolve with the times, and I hope the next sort of thing they could do with it is maybe get, like, there's this thing going on in Hollywood now where they get the cool, young, indie, hip directors to come in. Like, like a Chronicle, and it didn't really work with Fantastic Four, but there's that trend going on. I'd like to see like
Colin Trevorrow. They brought him on for Jurassic World, and then he's doing episode 9. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I'd like to see something like that happen with James Bond, but where they allow like a young, new director to just breathe totally new life into it. That's what I would like to see, rather than like what Spectre did of remember this old thing, remember that old thing. Let's make some new things. Bring in a new director, new blood, and let's start a new stage in James Bond.
What's mostly going to happen is that they're going to get Martin Campbell to come back to do the new incarnation, because they bring him on to do, like he did GoldenEye and Casino Royale. So they're probably going to bring him on to do the first outing, and then I honestly don't. They're probably going to do, if Kingsman 2 is a success, they're probably going to do. I'm really expecting like a Kingsman style, because movies now like the Jason Bourne style of movies I don't think they're losing their popularity. Now it's very much more about the bombastic stunts and fun is the big thing right now. Fun movies. Jurassic World was fun. Mission Impossible is big and it's fun. Kingsman was fun. Mad Max was insane fun. But that's the big deal right now. So James Bond might go back to being not campy, but like just having a fun time at the movies, which I don't like, because I think James Bond can be such a compelling character. All right, but I'll get past it.
I got a question here. It's kind of a combination between two questions, because one person asked favorite cartoon, and another person asked, in age full of cartoons being made into movies, what cartoons do you think would be made into a movie? Personally, I think He-Man, because it would be a cool, fantastic sci-fi, fantasy/sci-fi world and characters. What do you think? That was Ryan Farr. Sep PD said favorite cartoon. So we can sort of combine those two. Like, what's your favorite cartoon first?
Well, my favorite cartoon of all time?
Dragon Ball Z.
All right, go ahead. I'm not the biggest anime guy, so go ahead.
No, sorry, go on. I was just being an idiot.
Well, just for nostalgic purposes, I think a show I can go back and watch and still crack up at all the time is seasons 1 to 3 of SpongeBob, which sounds completely childish, and it is, because but every time, and I don't know if you ever watched an episode of SpongeBob in your life, but there's this one episode where SpongeBob and Patrick meet this ghost named the Flying Dutchman, and he has this ship, and the Flying Dutchman tricks them to becoming like first mates on his ship, and there's a scene of them going around to scare people, and they're caught between these two giant rocks in the ocean, and he's like, don't worry, we can scrape through, don't worry, and instead of scraping through, but instead of like getting scratches, it's like the ship's getting torn apart at the seams, and you just hear like this grinding sound, and the captain's just staring off this sea, and you hear SpongeBob going, you're good, you're good. You're good, and it's just like this scraping sound, and then it cuts to them going out, and the whole of the ship is just gone. And SpongeBob goes, "Don't worry, Cap, we'll buff out those scratches." And it's so ridiculously stupid, but it's so funny. And there's an episode where they try to make a marching band. That SpongeBob fans will know what I'm talking about. And it's just, there's some really great episodes of SpongeBob. But probably nowadays, my favorite cartoon, it's Rick and Morty. It's Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty. I don't know if you've ever seen an episode of Rick and Morty, but Rick and Morty is just... You ever seen Rick and Morty?
Nope. I never heard
Make
of
that
it.
your homework assignment right now.
Oh, my God. Come on. All right, fine.
Drop your other homework assignments and go and watch Rick and Morty right now. You're going to love it, I promise. You will most likely love Rick and Morty. Okay?
Okay, I don't even know what it is, but okay.
Drop your other homework assignments and go watch Rick and Morty. It's basically Back to the Future meets Futurama. Like, they've, like...
Okay.
It's so clever, and it's so much fun, and it's so hilarious. It's from the same guy who did Community, and it's one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. What was your favorite cartoon, Ben?
Well, even though this is kind of a cheat, because I know it means kids' cartoons, but I got to say Simpsons. Simpsons has got to be.
Rick and Morty isn't a kids cartoon.
Oh,
so,
okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, no, I got to say, Simpsons is my favorite cartoon of all time. Definitely. I mean, there's just no comparing. And like, I know the second part of this question is which cartoons could be made into a movie. It's weird because SpongeBob's had a movie, Simpsons has had a movie. So a lot of these
SpongeBob's had 2 movies.
2 movies, okay. So,
well, the new one,
a lot of them
the new one that came out this February wasn't very good, but the SpongeBob movie from 2004 was very good. One of my favorites.
But I think, Simpsons. It's like I love it. I mean, granted, the show is not as good as it used to be. But how could it? I mean, it's been around for so long.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of show where even if you don't watch it for years, you can always come back and enjoy more episodes.
Yeah.
And there's just so many great bits. Like I love the bit in the Simpsons movie where they've got the barrier around the lake, and Chief Wiggum is like, the mafia guys are trying to throw like a body wrapped up in a carpet in there. And Chief Wiggum's like, sorry, no dumping in the lake. And he's like, fine, I will go take my yard trimming somewhere else. He goes, Chief, I thought there was a dead body. I think there was a dead body in there. And he goes,
he's like,
I thought so too. Until he said yard trimming. You got to learn to listen, Lou.
It's a good one.
There's so many great bits like that.
Yeah.
It's so good.
When he's stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a rock and then the store's like a hard place.
Yeah, and he's an actual rock in the store and he's like, and he's bouncing back and forth between him.
And then it just drops him, just breaks. Oh, it's wonderful.
And Bart's like, do you even care what I have to say? And he's like, of course I do, son. What father wouldn't care about a pig wearing a hat? Yeah. And then when Bart's naked, so he brings him clothes. He's like, "Is it your shirt and your socks? Like, you forgot my pants? Who am I, Tommy Bahama?" I'm like, but Ryan's question there of like, which cartoons being made into a movie? A lot of these have been made into movies already. But he says, "What do you think about He-Man being made into a movie?" That's also been made a movie.
Well, like
in the 80s, there was a He-Man movie. And Dolph Lundgren was
my thing.
He-Man.
I know, yeah, but Frank Langella is Skeletor. My thing about He-Man is that I'm like they'll just do Thor. Like they'll do Thor.
Yeah.
Like they'll do Thor with Battle Cat. Like basically, like that's my big concern is that they're just gonna do. So I don't want to see He-Man.
The only way they could really do that as a new movie is if they tried to make it. As like a cosmic Mad Max, but maybe a little bit more kid appropriate. That's probably the only way I could think that they could end up doing it.
I don't know. I could show my little cousin Mad Max. I think he'll love it.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't think Mad Max. That R rating was a little iffy.
He-Man's hard to do, but He-Man's always been kind of like that was one of them shows that always had difficulties with the censorship when it was on. Like that's why He-Man, he fought a lot of robots because they didn't want him killing things, so he'd fight robots all the time. But a lot of people reckon that He-Man was Nazi because blonde hair, blue eyes, Aryan, and the symbol on his chest is like the Iron Cross from Nazis. He rides like the tiger, like the Nazis had the tiger tank, and and a lot of the propaganda symbols for Jews was like a skull, and like his villain is Skeletor. There's like a whole bunch of stuff. There's like a lot of similarities.
I think that's a massive coincidence, but
it's a lot of coincidences. Go to YouTube, type in He-Man is a Nazi, and there's a video where it shows all of them. There's like 20, 30 different things.
Well, there are a lot of coincidences to why Jar Jar's a Sith Lord. So I will.
Not this many. Though. Yeah, but anyway.
That's okay. But cartoon, it's been done before, but I want to see them do Scooby Doo and do it right. Ooh. Like if they like Scooby Doo is it's a show. It really is a good introduction to a horror movie because when you're 3 years old and you're watching Scooby Doo, I don't know if you ever watched Scooby Doo growing up, but did you ever watch Scooby Doo?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, there's an episode of Scooby Doo where they go to this mansion and the mansion's being haunted by these ghosts, but the ghost I'm getting freaks me out to this day. They wear like green hoods and they have red masks and they have chains. And they do like this weird cackle, like, and it sounds ridiculous now, but I don't do it justice. But when you're 3 years old, like I was, and you're sitting there and watching that, you wet yourself. That is horrifying, and it scars you for life, and it's freaking me out now. I'm looking behind my and so, but if you can recapture that kind of like what Goosebumps tried to do, but failed miserably because Goosebumps was silly, and that's just because the books themselves were silly. But if you can do a Scooby-Doo movie and kind of capture that tone of like a baby's first horror movie, like if you can do a good balance of comedy and horror, you get like an Edgar Wright to do a Scooby-Doo movie. And this could be really,
The only
I know
I don't know. I mean, the problem with Scooby-Doo is like it's exactly the same story every episode, and it's always the ghost. The ghost is not a ghost; it's some guy pretending to be a ghost to scare people away from this area because he wants to buy it or to drive the price of real estate down. So, I mean, if they did a movie, I'd like it if they flipped it, and like this is the one time when the ghost actually is real.
It's actually
that'd be interesting to me.
But you don't reveal that to the very end of the movie. Like they think they caught the guy, and then like the camera does like a pan around shot.
Yeah.
Like it's the gang walking, and then the camera turns back and the guy's just gone, and it's just chains on the ground. And like I guess he was a ghost.
It's the one time where he's a ghost. Yeah. Well, I think like the only other thing I'd say I'd like to see a movie, and this is for purely selfish reasons, because I just want to see how much of a train wreck this would be. But back in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon, when it was at its peak, there was a lot of other cartoons that were trying to rip off that success. One of them was
Battletoads.
Huh? What is it?
I thought you were going Battletoads.
No, I never heard of that. But one of them was one called that I had a few toys from, because I thought, this is really cool characters and it might be the next big thing. No, it wasn't. It was a phase. That's why I want to see it made a movie. But it was called The Toxic Avengers.
The Toxic I've heard of this.
And it's like
Toxic Avengers.
Yep, and it like you could obviously see why it's related to Ninja Turtles, because series of animals get exposed to toxic radiation, turns them into these mutated creatures, and they go off and they fight crime. What an original idea! Yeah. One of them was a giant dog,
Not seeing humans.
Yeah, pretty much.
I honestly would have said Gem and the Holograms if it wasn't for this past October when that movie came out.
Yeah.
They did a Gem and the Holograms movie that was a complete failure. They pulled it from theaters after 2 weeks. But
it's really hard to pick a cartoon that hasn't had a movie made yet, because most of the successful ones do, isn't it? Like Dora the Explorer. Is there a movie for that? Probably we'll get one soon.
There's a really funny College Humor video about like Dora the Explorer is an action movie. But I'd see a Dora movie only if they got the essence of the original like 2003 show, right? Yeah. I think the best cartoon movie based on a cartoon right now, Simpsons movie is really great, and the SpongeBob movie is really great. But that's just from nostalgia, I guess. I really love that movie. Okay, let's see. Let me find another question here. Do you have another question?
I'm having a look now. Oh yeah, what are your thoughts on the extended edition of Hobbit 3 being rated R? I don't care. Sorry, Hiram Jonas, but apparently because
I don't.
Can I just say, Lord of the Rings fans, specifically the Lord of the Rings fans who have read the books, are the worst. They are the worst. Because it's like all of us nerds, we like to nitpick, and we always like to show off of like our knowledge of knowing obscure things. But Lord of the Rings book fans take that to the highest degree. They really do. They're kind of like the hipsters of the nerd demographic.
I don't blame them because I understand where they're coming from, because think about it, like everything about this world, and you are listening to somebody who is not, ignorance is not a bad word, but is ignorant about what's going on in a certain way. But that's not their fault. The fault is that they should be going after Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh and people who make the movies, because they're leaving questions in their movies that are being answered in the book. Like that's how I feel about, in kind of a lesser extent, whenever someone starts speculating about the Star Wars trailer, they'll be like, so who's that Sith with the lightsaber with the crossguard bomb? Like, it's Kylo Ren. How are you making a speculation video about Star Wars Force Awakens and don't know who Kylo Ren is? And then they'll be like, I mean, well, in the expanded universe, they said that there's these guys that were Vader worshippers, but I wonder who those guys are. I'm like, it's the Knights of Ren. Why are you doing a speculation video if you don't know anything? That makes no sense. Like, just, It's all comment and be like, this is what this is. This is what and their reply will be, spoilers, man, spoilers. And like,
yeah, look,
you are making a speculation video.
Yeah, that's one thing, because it's like the answers to those are very easy to find. But like, the problem with people who say that about Lord of the Rings books is because if you want to find the answers to these things, you need to read these gigantic books, and nobody should be expected to do that. Like when Battle of Five Armies came out, I did a video of like 24 questions that were left unanswered in that movie.
Yeah. Good video, by the way. Good video.
Yeah, but and it's like stuff like, what happened to the Arkenstone? Like, it literally, like in the theatrical cut, it disappears. You don't even know. It's like so important, and then it disappears and isn't important. You don't even know where it ends at that movie. And there was so much stuff left unanswered, and every single comment in the question in the comment section is like, why don't you just go and read the book? And I'm like, because this is a movie. It's not a book. You should, if I have to leave the movie to read the book to understand what happened in the movie, then that movie failed. It's a failure.
Yeah.
But now apparently
Preach it, Bandit.
But the extended edition apparently has all these answers in it. So, good for them.
Well,
but if it's not in the theatrical, it doesn't count.
Exactly.
I think
it's like that thing with Jesus and Prometheus, like that thing they brought up with the engineers and why they wanted to destroy humans. It was apparently because of Jesus or whatever. Never brought up in the movie, so who cares?
I mean, like that was supposed to be part of the original script, but no, it wasn't in the movie. So yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that was supposed to be part of the original script.
Oh yeah, it was. It was in John Spaihts' original script. They directly state that. And it makes so much more sense, but they backed away from it because they didn't want all the controversy in that. So that's item number 7,644 of what's wrong with Prometheus.
Yes. even though Jesus Jesus comes from the sky and was from an outer being that wasn't from Earth. Jesus is definitely not an alien, because that makes sense. I don't want to get into religion right now. Okay, so let's see if we can find another question. I don't know if we've answered this question before. Max Palambella asks, how do you go about writing your What It Should Be videos? As a writer, he'd like to compare notes.
Oh, okay. Well, probably not many other people are interested in this, but I'll answer it anyway. Basically, first I just write like an overview of like just line by line. I'll be like, this happens, and this happens, and this happens, and this happens. And I'll move them around to like, shuffle the scenes around. But I don't have all the details planned out. It's just like a guide. And basically then I just go through and start writing. And often as you're writing, new ideas will come to you as you're working. So you'll shift things around, and it'll get rewritten quite a lot. Like in the Revenge of the Sith thing, I was going to have a character in the beginning who gets killed, like a Jedi in the beginning who gets killed. And then there's another Jedi who sort of takes on that role of being, I'm the Jedi in charge. And I reworked it, and I was like, it's kind of weird to have these two guys. Why don't I just squash them together and make them one character and have him survive, and it goes through, and it makes kind of more sense. And as the story progressed, there was a certain guy that needs, to... anyway, I won't spoil it. But yeah, it's like, I just have like a rough overview, and then I just get to work writing, and it sort of all falls into place. But there's multiple points where I find myself where I'm like, oh, how am I going to fit this over here? And then like, you'll mull it over, and then suddenly it'll just come to you, and you just, I don't know if that helps at all, Max, but
well, I think a good point is just to have an end game. Like, don't just go in and just start writing. Have an end game. Have an ending in mind, and work your way to that. That's just, I think that to me that's step one. I don't know. I don't write these things. But
yeah, that's like. But you don't need to like. Yeah, you need an overview of where you're going, but you don't need to have every little thing planned out.
No.
Because a lot of that stuff comes to you as you're writing. Like originally with Attack of the Clones, I was going to have it end that Obi-Wan figures out about Anakin and he dumps him on a planet to get rid of him and just sort of leaves him exiled there. That was going to be the end. And then as I was writing, I was like, why didn't I just have Anakin just quit being a Jedi?
Right.
And he doesn't find out. I'll have him find out in the next one. And it worked much better, I think.
Yes. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, Pablo, or Paul, whatever his name is.
Max.
I think it's Pablo.
Max. Pella.
Sorry, it's late. I apologize, Max. Okay, so I think I have the last question here.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure we haven't answered this one yet. That's my one concern with the whole banking the question thing is that I'm afraid we won't repeat questions. Huey Armendades asks, watching more Force Awakens trailers, it looks like it will be eye candy but soft on plot. What do you think?
I don't know if it'll be soft. I don't know if I'd say it's soft on plot, but I think it might be light on plot. But that's a good thing, better than, because like again we're using what we're afraid of is the Star Trek Into Darkness where the plot was too complicated and too many twists and turns. I don't think you need that in this. In episode 7, you need it to be more simplified because it's more laying the foundation for what will happen in the future.
Yes.
So I don't think it'll be soft on plot, but I think it'll be more streamlined, simplified plot, which is a good thing.
Exactly. Not a soft plot, but a simple one. You know, New Hope is not a soft plot, but it's a very simple one.
Maybe that's why they went for the Death Star thing. Because they're like, we don't want to introduce too many new things this early on. We just want to get everyone back on board again.
And besides, I want them to focus more on the characters anyways. I don't want the plot to be, which is a weird thing to say, but I don't want the plot to be what's I don't want to say what drives me, but I don't want the plot to be the main focus. I want the characters to be there. I want the plot to focus around the characters of the story, which, in my opinion, is really how movies should work. The plot is what happens to the characters.
But I do have to say, like, we were talking about, like we were just saying then, you sort of need to know where you're going. I do get the feeling in this that they have planned out this trilogy. Because there's a lot of, like, this whole idea of the Knights of Ren and the mystery behind that. And it feels like they've got an agenda and a purpose to what they're doing. Well, it feels like they know where they're going with this. And there is,
they got all the expanded universe. Like they can't do these books and these comics. Like we see the Star Destroyer that crashes on Jakku on the cover of a book from the expanded universe, Lost Stars. Spoilers, I guess, for Lost Stars. You know, and we meet Poe Dameron's parents in Shattered Empire, the comic series. You know, they have to have things planned out because listen, you know,
and they're leaving Luke Skywalker out for a reason. So like, while it might be a simplified plot, they obviously know where they're going. They have a purpose to what they're doing.
Yes.
Which is it's only a matter of weeks now, Trey, until this movie comes out.
Like 17 days. And I think the reason the plot is so simple is because they have 30 years of catch up to do.
Yeah.
Like the plot has this movie has to be simple because they have to spend, like, I'm telling you, man, those 3 paragraphs at that start of the movie they're going to need to explain 30 years of movie in 3 paragraphs. So pressure's on JJ. I like in the Screen Junkie's honest teaser, it's like Star Wars, it's on you, Abrams. Like I love that the tagline, it's on you, Abrams. And,
poor Abrams, there's so much pressure on him, but I think he's going to do a good job.
He's taking it really well, which gives me confidence that he knows he thinks this movie is really great. Okay, I think that's fine. I think that's all the questions.
I kind of get the feeling with Abrams as well that this is kind of his dream come true. This is what he's always wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Kind of feels like his whole career has been building to this.
Well, ultimately, that's why he turned it down like 3 times, because he's like, I don't want to mess this up. And if you look at his movies, what he's done, his movies have all been either homages or plain up ripoffs of greater things that have happened before it. I guess with the exception of Mission Impossible 3, I guess it feels a lot like Mission Impossible 1. And then Super 8 very much feels like, you know, your Goonies, E.T. style of movies, and then the first Star Trek feels like a New Hope. It feels like a Star Wars movie. And then Into Darkness is very much Wrath of Khan. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, I think that's it, eh?
Yeah, I think that's all the questions. Oh, great. All right. A longer one, but that's all right. 225. Okay, so thank you guys all for watching. What a lovely podcast today we did. We talked about Hunger Games and Jessica Jones and all that nice stuff, answering your questions. Bandit, where can people... Wait. Before we get to where people find us, I want to thank Milan Jeftik for doing the podcast art. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Milan.
And yes, and rate us on iTunes. You know, that's always nice. Check me out on YouTube. I'm back on YouTube, Podcast Media. I'd appreciate the support. Thank you, guys. Bandit, where can the people find you?
They can find me on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter as Bandit Incorporated.
Yes.
And they can find you.
They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, all at Podcast Media. We will be back next week with Return of the Jedi in preparation for The Force Awakens. Thanks for watching, and catch you all later on Movie Maniacs.